Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the Hotspur Hood. Unbeaten records gone. It's safe to say smashed, you could say. Although the stats and the records will show that we lost 4-1, I don't think we deserve to lose by that scoreline. We'll get onto that a little bit later, of course, and much, much more tonight. Introducing tonight's guests, well, guest at the moment, Mr. Brian Daigle, Tottenham on tour. And actually, I'm going to put the headlines up as well, because I don't do that when we go solo. I forget to do it. So
there you go.
There we go. Tottenham on tour. We need to start doing it. Spurs morning glory. It's not morning glory right now, Dan, but you know it is. Stell will join us in 15 minutes. He's on Tottenham away right now. He'll be here. So before we get going, please like, sub, hit the super chats if you've got any free bob, spare bob lying around. It really does help the channel grow. First of all, I've got to put this story up because this guy. Legend is bandied about a lot, a hell of a lot. And, before the game took place, Pat Jennings, one of the very best in his position in the sport, not just a Spurs legend, a coach for 30, 40 years. 3 years ago, he retired and he's 78 now. So 75, he was still coaching under 18s, under 21s. So he took a fall before the game. I can only hope he has a full recovery. I was going to Hotspur Way back in 2017 for a couple of years. I didn't get talking to anyone really, none of the ex-professionals. But this guy gave me time on a couple of occasions. Scott Parker I talked to once because he was under 18s as well. Fair play to Scott. But this guy knows his stuff and is willing to talk with any man, any youngster about the game. So hopefully. He pulls through. Come on, Pat. We believe in you, Pat. We believe in you.
I think the funny thing about that story, sorry, Dad, very quickly, is I was reading on Tottenham Hotspur's official, they put a notification out that an update on his health. And they said, yep, he was released discharged, just after midnight. And he will be fit to try. He will be going to his statue unveiling. I was like, what? We have, and then I realised if you read the rest of the paragraph, the birthplace in Ireland is where they're unveiling a statue for him. I got a bit excited that we might be doing a statue, but then no, they're doing one for him in Ireland. So looks like he's travelled there today for it, or it's tomorrow and he's travelling. But yeah, like you said, the word legend gets used very, very easily. This man is right up there in that category.
Go on, Dan, you was going to say something about Mr. Jennings?
I was just about to say what Brian said. They let him out at 12 o'clock. He was all right from what it said on the news and everything else. Brian just basically said it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's part of like a 5-a-side, 6-a-side, Monday night pitch invasion side, and he's back there. He's back there on Friday. He's just one of those guys who just lives, breathes, drinks football. And yeah, what a guy!
Well, just one more thing about him. You look at it, and you look at people like the great we've just lost in Sir Bobby Charlton, that gave everything for one club and then stayed on in the back scenes and obviously Manchester United was his one club and he devoted everything to it. Obviously, we know Pat left us and went down the road, and no one holds it against him. But like you said, he's been affiliated with this club and still goes up. I went to a home game last season where at half time, a sick young child was taking a penalty against him, and he even dived to pretend to make the save and let it in. And like you said, we're talking about a 77-year-old man still giving his all for the club, which is just incredible.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, he looks good for 78. He's got a full mane of hair, and it's not Antonio Conte style, where he's paid like 30 grand for a hair transplant. Look, that is all his. He looks good. He looks good for 78, and it's great to hear that he's pulling through. He's one thing for sure is he's a fighter by the looks of things. Right now, straight to the Chelsea game. Look, we try and keep these streams to hour and a half, hour 45, sometimes even push it to 2 hours. We can talk about this Chelsea game alone for 12 hours, half a day. I would say so much happened. But I'm going to get straight down to it, Dan. Did we deserve to lose 4-1? And, what did you make of the performance in general yesterday night?
Look, if I'm going to say, did we deserve to lose 4-1? There's a yes and a no to it for me. For the way a couple of our players acted, especially Romero, as far as I'm concerned, the fella needs a punch in the head, and he's going to have to do a lot to get my trust back. Because we've all preached that man up about how he's now a vice captain, and he's got his act together, this and that and everything. And basically, he just basically went and shot us in the head yesterday. It was down to what happened with him. Udogie, for me, for that 2-footy challenge, should have been sent off. I know it didn't touch Sterling and that, but this is 2023, not 1983. And if Sterling wouldn't have jumped, he'd have had no legs left. That would have been a career ender. I think for even going for them tackles 2-footed, you should be off, but that's opinion. Then Udogie doing the silly tackle when he didn't even need to. All right, we can say the man's 20. Needs to learn a bit still. But Romero, nah. The fella needs good hiding as far as I'm concerned. After that, we give it everything we could. And at one point, people saying it was crazy what we were doing. But there was actually sense to it as well. When you've got Emerson Royale and Dyer sitting as your central defenders, and then you've got to bring on Højbjerg to try and level it up in central defence, something's not right. If we would have just done what Liverpool done and sat back, we would have probably lost that 7-1. And we had Chelsea scared. We had them scared because they really didn't know how to counter it.
74th minute. Until I know we lost 4-1, but it was 74th minute till they broke that barrier to take the lead.
It came down to the point where you could see the players were knackered. And then also someone like Eric Dyer, he's just got no pace on him whatsoever. He couldn't catch it up. I'm very worried about Van der Ven. I just hope that's just a strain, not a tear. Either way, I think he's going to be out for up to 3 months. So we're not going to see him till next year. That game couldn't have gone any more wrong if it tried. I mean, Eric Dyer's goal was actually a goal. I think Reece James should have got a red card. And it couldn't have gone more wrong. But then the way a lot of the team seemed to lose their cool, and we didn't even have to. Them first 15 minutes were some of the best I've seen Spurs play. If we'd have just kept our head, we could have had that 2-0, 3-0, 3-1 at half time because we was all over them. But yeah, our vice captain, main player, he lost his head, shot us in the back basically, and then Udogie off, we went down to 9 men. It was obvious what was going to happen. So, but 4-1 was a bit of a cheeky score at the end of the day, considering how much effort we put into it. But then what do you expect with 9 men on the pitch and you've only got bloody Eric Dyer and Højbjerg there? One thing I will say, though, definitely, don't anyone ever come on here again and try and preach at me that Højbjerg is not worthy as a squad player. Again, I repeat it, squad player. I'm not saying he's for the 11. As far as I'm concerned, when that man came on yesterday, he didn't step a foot wrong. He was as good as you could get, as you could ask him to be in that situation. He was excellent as far as I'm concerned. I think the man gets too much stick anyway. Yeah, Dyer coming on, you can definitely see why we don't want him in the 11, but you can say the man tried. He give it what he had, but you can definitely see why he is not good enough. It was good to see Bentancur back. It was a shame that he got the header right on target, but he then hit his foot and went wide. We could have had that a draw in the latter stages, basically, because Chelsea was still scared of us. But it was just one of them days. It just weren't meant to be. But I think half of it was our own fault. It was our own players to blame for it.
Brian,
with that, where do you feel it started going wrong? Because first 15 minutes, we looked.
First of all, where everything went wrong from Destiny's first challenge.
Yeah,
that's where from that moment things just went pear-shaped. It went Pete-Tong. I'll come on to the sending offs in a minute, but the one thing that I'm really going mad about with that game, and I'm solely putting it down to Van der Ven's hamstring, is I still to this day don't understand why the Premier League and the managers or whoever the powers that be of the Premier League decided not to use this automated offside system. Where we saw it in the World Cup, we saw it in the Champions League. It gets drawn out, bang, 30 seconds, a minute tops, it's done, move on. All that stop starting. The stop starting yesterday was ridiculous. We all know, and I'm not just saying this as a Spurs fan, I'm saying as a football fan, these stoppages on a cold November evening, a player like Van der Ven, whose pace is a massive asset and a major part of his game, stopping for 8 minutes, starting up again and his legs getting all relaxed and everything, then stopping again for another whatever minutes. He's played every single game, not a chance of his hamstring going, doesn't even look like it. This game, loads of stoppages, unnecessary, bang, that goes. Now on to the sending offs. Udogie could have been sent off for the first one. He's just very lucky he got the ball, not the man that time. The intent of going in 2-footed. Now with Romero could have got off for his David Beckham petulance in the first one. Now the second one, this is where I'm kind of torn with this now. At first, like many others, I was like, well, we got to be honest and call it as it is and not have Tottenham biased. If Curtis Jones got sent off for that for Liverpool, then you'd think he has to go for that.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to a really good mate of mine at the Scotland Yard, and I've watched it again today. Curtis Jones was very unlucky. He hit the top of the ball and then followed through. And then it was a red card, let's face it. But if you look at Romero, he actually gets the ball and it's his follow through. He had nowhere else to put his leg. It was listen, it's a penalty. It's a penalty. He brought the man down. But it's getting to the point, if you go back and watch that slowly or whatever speed, you can't change your leg when it's in mid-flow. He's not Michael Jackson. He can't do one of these little kicks or like a ballerina. So it is, don't get me wrong, it's a red card. It was reckless. And you have to call it as it is. If it was Curtis Jones red card, but the more and more I look at it, the more it's rash. He followed through it, hit him in a bad place. Because of the follow through, it's a red card.
Studs were up as well.
Exactly. But yesterday, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's a straight red. Romero, you've been a prick. But when you watch it back and see he has nowhere for his leg to go, it's his leg just following through. But it is a red card. Now we'll talk about the style of play. We'll talk about the sending offs. None of it is as big as the Van der Ven injury. That injury to me, if you remember All or Nothing when Harry Kane did his hamstring at Southampton, that one looks just as bad, and that was 4 months. Obviously, we've got to wait for the swelling to go down and the test to be done, and we hope it's not as long as it is. But I'm very, very, very.
It looked like a tear. It
mate, it looks like a big tear. Not like when they say grade 1, grade 2. That looks like a bad one.
What do you reckon he actually?
Why our medical team once again, like with I don't know if we get charged for using a stretcher by Daniel Levy or something, but it's like you didn't do it with Bentancur. You let him walk around the pitch. The guy's just done his hamstring. He's 6 foot, whatever the size he is, and you got the two coaches that put him on a goddamn stretcher and get him to the medical room. Not saying it makes it. Why risk him hobbling and putting weight on it when you can just put him on the stretcher? But listen, Destiny's second yellow card. When he picked up the first yellow card, I wasn't that concerned because he picked up an early yellow card against Arsenal. He's picked up an early yellow card and he's been able to manage the game through. I don't know what rush of the blood that he did it. You knew the second he did it. And it was a red card. But like Dad said, what you got to look at when we get into this, when we sacked Poch, people were annoyed with his choice of substitutions and timings of substitutions. Then we had Jose, Nuno, Conte, where we were bored of the football and playing low block and counter-attack football and backwards, sideways nonsense football. So we all went mad at that. Everyone says we wanted free-flowing attacking football back. We get it back. We love it. And you have to remember, Emerson and Dyer couldn't keep a clean sheet last season when they were low block.
Exactly.
So Ange said he wants to play a high offensive team. And we did it. If like Dan said, Dyer's goal should have stood. if Son's offside goal, which was a beautiful team goal,
It was.
but then if Dyer's got or Son shot at the end, we're talking a 2-2, and we're going, oh my God, that great attacking football. Look at that never say die attitude. When you're 2-1 down and you're going for the game, you push people forward. Whether you got 11 men or 10 men or whatever. Listen, it's not the result we wanted, but every single player on that pitch, including the substitutes, the ones that stayed on, were credit to them. And my God, I used to say there's only one goalkeeper I would swap Vicario for, and that's Alisson. Nope. I wouldn't swap Vicario for anyone. That man is a goddamn bargain of the season. Of this window, for any team, 17 mil for him is the best bit of business in the Premier. He is absolutely magnificent. Big up, Stel, bro.
He is. You're right, Stel.
Yeah, big up everyone.
Yes,
I did. I've just
cheers
asked everyone watching that.
Cheers for bringing a lot of your chaps over. I appreciate it, man. We got a lot of the Tottenham away folk in the chat. So yeah, I appreciate you being with us. You're going to hear exactly what Stel has to say, and it's not just Stel. We got a brilliant Dagonator here too. So overall, Stel, you know, we've talked about it a lot, and I've seen some of your messages on Twitter, and I watched some of your show. You know, did we deserve to lose 4-1 yesterday? Does it reflect the game for you?
Yeah, we deserve to lose 4-1 because we got 2 players sent off, and that's our fault. Can't blame VAR, can't blame the referees. I'm not going to, as a fan, hide behind it and use it as an excuse. I know Arteta likes to do that, and so does Klopp. But even Ange didn't use it as a mask to hide behind. Romero lost he's too aggressive, and Udogie young and naive and did something he didn't need to do. So we deserve to lose 4-1 because that's how many they scored, and they punished us for going down to 9 men. So yeah, we did. But that said, everything just went wrong yesterday, Tommy. Everything went wrong. You know,
whatever could have gone wrong just went wrong, didn't it?
Going into future games as well, not just in the game itself, but we look ahead now to Wolves, and we're missing 4 players potentially.
Yeah.
4 big
well,
players.
You know what? I've got a bit of a. I'm not as worried as some Spurs fans. I'll tell you why. I've never in my life been to a Spurs game, ever. I've been going for 30 years. I've never, ever been to a game where we've got battered and the fan base gave the team a round of applause, a standing ovation. It doesn't make sense. I think the fact that we went for it and we didn't sit deep and we tried to just go for it, right? So many fans were complaining, oh, fossil football, this dinosaur football, we want our Spurs back. Well, you got it. Last night, you got it. Was that not the Spurs way? To dare is to do. Is that not what we did last night? I think it is. Okay? So you can't now, as Spurs fans, complain, oh, what was this tactic? Hold on a minute. You crucified the last 2 managers for a tactic you didn't like. Now you've got someone that's embodying the motto of the club, embrace it. And I think what he did was he set a precedent saying, this is how it's going down under me. Non-negotiable. And the players bought into it because they gave it everything they had. They didn't rebel against it. The fans got on board with it. Even at 3-1 when Chelsea scored, we started clapping our boys. Don't worry about it. I think he's now set this fighting mentality saying, the chips are down. We've got injuries. We've got suspensions. We are going to freaking fight for this. We are not just going to go down like that. And I think he's set that message. Will Stewart was saying this just now. He sent a message to all those fringe players. You need to step up now because you're going to form the fight and get us to January, and hopefully the board saves us. So
I thought I was going to be in the minority here.
That's a different conversation, right? I don't want to go into Levy just yet, but I just think, Tommy, what he did yesterday.
Well, don't worry, David's already blamed Levy for lack of stretches, so it's fine.
Yeah. I have.
Yeah,
well, still, you're a coach. You're a coach, and I'm being serious. Genuine question. As a coach, still, Benton Core gets injured at Leicester. Our medical team. Oh yeah. Just walk around the stands. You've just torn your ACL. You carry on walking. Mickey van der Ven has done what I think like a Harry Kane tear of his hamstring. That's right. You're 6'7" or whatever it is. You are 6'4". Don't worry, just put your arms around 2 Spurs coaches and just hobble around the stand. Where the fuck is? Why have we got no stretchers?
It's Spurs.
Well, we
isn't
had
it?
stretchers. We had stretchers because it came on the sidelines. The stretcher came out when Vicario went down. The problem is we don't use it all the time. Like there's no logic in Van der Ven not being stretched off. That was crazy.
I need to call this super chat because it's been on for a while. A Wolves boy, Tottenham away raid.
One of the best supporters of the Tottenham channels you'll ever find.
I have to say, you know, YouTube takes a third of all super chats and advertising. So, Stel, give me your sort code and account number, and I'll give you, you know, £6.66 is coming your way. So yeah, cheers for the super chat.
Your channel. It's for your channel, mate. It's not.
I'll tell you what, Wolves. I'll tell you what, Wolves F1. Do you watch Sweet and Sour Soccer? Good friends of mine, a Wolves channel. Those boys are it. Those boys are it. They're fantastic. I used to have them on previews. I used to do score predictions with them. They've boomed now. I'm sure you watch that. They're a great channel. It just reminds me of that fantastic show.
A great name, Sweet and Sour Soccer. That's a great name.
And do you know why they call? Do you know why they call it Sweet and Sour Soccer? I thought, was we in the Chinese at the time? And it's a duo. And one of them goes, no, the channel is called Sweet and Sour Soccer. Because he's got diabetes and I'm a cunt. I was like, oh, right. I'm going to get on with these boys.
Talk about putting play.
They're good chaps. They're really good chaps.
Tom, one thing I want to say quick. Vicario.
Yeah, Dan, I was going to ask you because I think attacking football was the way to go. Stel, Brian, agree. And you know, whatever you're going to say, add your opinion to that because I thought I'd be in the minority.
No. I could see both sides to it. We was fucked if we did, fucked if we didn't, basically. But if we didn't, if we would have sat back, we would have got absolute. It would have probably been 7-1. Yeah. The one I want to talk about quickly and just mention, Vicario. Now, this is one I do love to turn around sometimes and say to people, obviously not everyone, but I will say a high majority of Spurs fans here, I told you so. We've said it before. I've said it 100 times. So many people wanted this man to fail because he was a cheaper version of what we went for. And they wanted him to fail just to have a dig at Levy, yeah? Which I just think is stupid anyway. I told everybody, watch this keeper. He's going to be good. Very, very good. And for me, he's already proved himself. He's already had one shady game, and he'll probably have another shady game or two. Everybody does. But this fella is only going to get better. And when you get someone like Buffon, who hardly ever says a word out in Italy, big this man up that he is more than good enough to be Italy's #1. When you look who their main goalkeeper is, he's just outstanding, and he's now fighting for #1 place. We have got a keeper there that if we hang on to him, which isn't going to be easy, and give him a season or two, we're talking about someone who can be world class here, as far as I'm concerned. And that's not a phrase I use easy. We have got an outstanding goalkeeper there.
Dan, I'll just add to that very quickly because what I've been saying as well is if you look at it, and this is where I will give credit to the board, Paratici. When you look at Manchester United, who have lost Schmeichel and took ages to find Van der Sar, and then when Van der Sar left, took time to find De Gea, and now Onana hasn't pulled up any trees really, but probably will come good. You look at the filth when they had Seaman, and how long it took them to find Lehman, and then Lehman till look at they're going through goalkeeper issues now.
Goalkeepers aren't easy to get.
The fact that we were saying goodbye to Lloris, and it was like, right, he may not have won the silverware, but he may have been in the decline the last couple of years, but he was big boots to fill or big gloves to fill, should we say? For us to go and find this man at the first time of asking, heavily I think on Paratici, but and I'll tell you now, when we pulled out of the Raya deal, I was on We Are Tottenham TV with Ben in the studio. I went nuts. I went absolutely goddamn. This is before Vicario's name came out that evening. So I was going nuts that we'd pulled out. Then when I heard we're getting this guy from Italy for 17 mil, I was like, I was one of those. It was like, oh, here we go. Typical Tottenham. But then after the Brentford game, and especially after the United game, I was like, you know what? I have got this completely, totally wrong. The club have done brilliant. I'll big up Ray, brother.
One thing that a lot of people didn't check up on, they just didn't check up on the goalkeeper. They really didn't. Bayern Munich wanted him. Man U were checking him. Chelsea were checking him. AC Milan were checking him. And we basically took him from underneath into Milan's feet. Yeah, underneath, whatever you want to say, their hands, whatever, because they knew that Onana was going to Man U. Vicario was who they went for. But where money is a bit of a struggle at Inter at the moment, they had to let Onana go before they could then go and get Vicario, whereas usually most would get Vicario and sell whatever. Onana was literally on his way. We just went, thank you, we'll have him, and stuck him from underneath Inter Milan. When you got 5 teams like that looking for him, and Bayern Munich was checking him out basically for next season to be their first keeper, because Manuel Neuer still playing good at 38, but he's definitely on his way down. AC Milan have got a very good keeper, but he seems to get an injury here and there. Chelsea obviously wanted the goalkeeper. Man U was checking him out and that. When you've got big teams like that checking out the fella, there's got to be something right there. But nobody seemed to check him out. Hardly anybody I knew seemed to check him out. And they was just, he's cheap, it's easy.
I agree with you to a certain extent. I think Inter Milan, you're right. They were looking at him as the #1 keeper. The rest
100%.
were looking at him as a backup. They were looking at him as a backup. He's reported everywhere. Inter Milan, as you say, because of the money struggles, they ended up getting Bayern Munich's Jan Sommer, didn't they, on a free contract or something?
Yeah, because we took Vicario.
They got big money problems. But as Daigle said, I don't think it's any it's a poor way to support Spurs to be angry that we didn't sign Raya. The issue was never Raya for me. It was the fact that we went in for a bid, didn't improve the bid. So regardless of Vicario, he was our #1 target. Without a shadow of a doubt, he was our #1 target. If you want Raya, go out there and spend the money. You've got the money.
Oh,
I totally get it. From 15 million to 22 million. Seems like it's worked in our favour now, because Vicario's been unbelievable.
But people I know and have spoke to on here regular at times almost wanted him to fail, to prove a fucking point. And as far as I'm concerned, that's wrong. Why do you want a player to fail just to throw something at Levy when we've already got the Bible and everything else that we could smash off his head? There's plenty we can throw at him. Why did so many people want him to fail just to have a dig? That I thought was absolutely stupid. And there was a lot of people.
Dan, I've got to say to you, I don't think it's. I'll be honest now. I don't think it's people wanted him to fail, as in him personally. I would have said, and this is coming from me, if that had gone wrong, that would have just given me more petrol to put on Levy's fire. It's not that we want the player to fail. It's never that. I want excuses, or not excuses. I want reasons to say, you've done it again. You fucked up again. You've done this, you've done that. And I'm going to pour people like myself and Stel and other people will go, right, we're going to pour some more fire on that petrol.
I totally get it.
Some more petrol on that fire.
But some people literally wanted him to mess up to prove a point. Some people actually did.
I think it's the long-term Levy-outers that not wanted him to foul, but I can see that mentality. And I'm thinking like that now as well.
They wanted to prove a point.
I want him to foul, but I want to rip up the transfer handbook that we've given over the last 20 years and start again. This summer it worked out well. We don't know about the depth yet. We're going to talk about that because that could be a very, very big issue going into the next few weeks. We've got a massive Christmas period coming up as well. Even if the boys stay fit, we're going to have to use the depth. We had to use them at some stage. It's come earlier than we thought. As Stel said, it could have gone much worse, could it? You know, both centre-backs not going to be there next game. Madison, I think Madison could be okay because he was.
I can tell you about Madison. I can actually tell you.
He seems to shrug off injuries, doesn't he?
It's not even that. So basically, you saw he went down a couple of times before the sending off, and every time he goes down, he does seem to hold. Like, we know he's not fully fit, whatever. But once we went down to 10 men, and he was saying, I don't know what part of the leg it was that he was feeling yesterday. And like he did with Romero with concussion, was like, right, I've just got a player sent off. I can't risk you getting injured. We're down to 10 men. We're going to be running like all over the shop. I cannot risk. Madison's a player we cannot risk. And then you've got to think Van der Ven as well going off. He's like, I can't lose Van der Ven. Romero, obviously, that's a suspension. It was before Destiny, so we didn't know. That was precaution. He should be. He should be, unless it's flared up more today. It was taken off as a precaution. It wasn't. He actually had a niggle.
Still, we haven't had your say on the sending offs yet. I think most people agree that's where it turned. The game turned after the Romero sending off. I was in the stand. You was in the stand. I don't know. What did you make of it at the time? What did you make of it after? I'm sure you saw the highlights. Were they deserved sending offs?
Yeah, both were red cards for me. They should have both been. Well, Romero should have been sent off before his one anyway. But yeah, they're both red cards at the end of the day. I just got to take it on the chin, like I said earlier. Romero's was just
what it was.
It's just an over-aggressive play, and Udogi's was just young and naive. I don't think the turning point was Romero sending off. I think there was 2 turning points. I think the first one was when Son's goal, which I think was onside, by the way. Son's goal was given offside.
In the stands, everyone went wild, and I thought it was onside too. From where I was sitting, I thought it was onside.
Mate, I've looked back at it. 2-0, the way we were playing, that would have, by the way, that Son goal would have been one of the best goals I've seen Spurs score.
Oh, man, incredible.
It was an excellent team setup. It
Unbelievable.
Was I was gutted that was not a goal. Absolutely gutted.
100%. If that goes 2-0, Chelsea are finished. We would have absolutely buried them. That was the beginning of the turning point. But I think the one for me was that tackle Doji put on where he got a yellow. It wound them up. And they began to get a foot in the game. And I think...
Quick question still. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, go for it.
Was it... What actually happened first? I'm trying to think of the game now. Was it that 2-footed challenge, or was it where Romero was up the other end of the pitch, barged Chelsea player out the way, they come running down, Chelsea player come up to him, barged him clean off his feet, and then I think it was Udogie who put in that tackle.
Yeah, it was the Beckham kick. So was it the Beckham kick or the fucking drop kick from Udogie, I suppose? I can't remember myself.
I can't remember what way it was. That's what I'm asking. Can you?
I can't remember. I think the Udogie yellow card though, that tackle, I think that was a turning point, because with 11 men, Chelsea were getting back in the game. They had a couple of goals disallowed offside. Porro was having a nightmare of a game, absolute nightmare of a game, and Raheem Sterling was just, taking it
all over him.
So, yeah, I think for me that was the turning point.
Wicked.
I think he did. In the first half, he weren't so good. In the second half, he was incredible.
Attacking, he was good. Defending, he was awful. Sterling basically had him in his back pocket and was running rings round him.
Sterling's got a lot, mate. I don't know how, but I think Sterling needs to be drug tested after every game, because he isn't losing a pace with age. He's gaining pace. He has become more rapid.
Sterling always turns up against Spurs, man. He's always been that player.
Yeah.
Whether he's at Liverpool,
He's always
City,
been.
he always
what
turns
sets
up
Sterling
against
apart is his runs on the shoulder of defenders, like Harry Kane. He stays right on the shoulder. He never gets offside. He's a smart cookie, Sterling. He gets underrated, but he's a very, very smart cookie at timing his runs. It's not just his pace, just the timing of runs. Perfect.
Look, regarding Porro's opinions, my opinion is I don't think he had a good game. In fact, I don't actually think Porro is that good of a defender. I think he's improved from last season, 100%, but he's still not. He's not Kyle Walker, man. He's not Danny Rose level.
No,
he's not, and that's what we need at this level, I think. So, but look, that's where I think the turning point was when it became a bit more of a fight. This whole game, do you know what? We are just like freaking Arsenal, man. We're so similar. We can't lose our heads and win a game like that. Some teams can just get all, like Newcastle can have a bloodbath and win it. We can't. We're like Arsenal. Just play football and win it playing football, and most teams won't be able to touch us. Just play football. Don't get into a fight. You saw it when Kai Havertz put that wild challenge in at Newcastle. I thought Arsenal were a better team against Newcastle. As soon as Havertz did that, it turned into a fight. And that's when Arsenal lost it, because it wasn't a football game anymore. It was what Newcastle wanted. And when we did that last night, we lost our discipline. The same thing happened. We stopped playing football. The first 20 minutes we were playing football. Chelsea didn't know what hit them. Chelsea didn't have a clue what was going on. That's where we lost it, Tommy. That's where it changed, when it stopped being football.
It's the first game I've been to, and that first 15 minutes, the one-touch passing I've been seeing on the television.
Brilliant.
I think it was even better than what we've seen. Well, you can tell us, Stel, when you're at the stadium, that's probably the best 15 minutes of the season. it was so comfortable. I was thinking in my head, hoof it.
It was.
In my head, I was thinking,
brilliant.
hoof it. But every touch was comfortable. It was drawing the attackers, then playing the ball, the easiest ball to the left. It looked very, very good. And I tell you what,
do you know what it reminded me of, Tommy?
I think that disallowed goal changed a lot of things. I think the disallowed goal, we thought it was 2-0 up. I think we would have smashed it after that. As you say, I think we would have smashed it.
I think so too. Those first 20 minutes reminded me of pre-season when we were getting excited. Like, what is this? What is this? It reminded me of that. We're playing like brilliantly. But
I don't know how you guys felt. But I was really upset that Brennan Johnson came off as a sub. I thought
100%, Brian.
we
100%.
could for me until he went off. Chelsea did not know what to do with him. They could not contain him. And now whether they wanted to keep Kulu on because of his work rate and everything, and they were thinking that way. Brennan Johnson, I thought, was absolutely tremendous for the brief time he was there. And big up, Audio brother. I was really upset to see him go off because I thought if he had stayed on, Chelsea just couldn't cope with him.
He was the outlet, wasn't he? He was the outlet. He really was.
Well, look, one thing you can definitely say, he's going to be playing there unless he gets injured now because Richarlison's out for about 3 months.
Pelvic. Yeah, everyone's talking about injuries, but everyone's forgotten that Richarlison's got pelvic surgery in the next week, and he's going to be out for 3 or 4 months. Goes to show his lack of quality, I think, more than anything.
But it showed yesterday, as soon as Johnson was on, it just looked totally different up front. I thought Kulusevski couldn't have done any more if he tried, really. I thought he had a very good...
He done well. Kulusevski played well.
Yeah, definitely one of the best I've seen him play all season. And I thought that first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I would even go as far to say that's the best I've seen Spurs play in, 5 years? 6 years even? I'd say that is the best I've seen us play in a very, very, very long time. It was just a shame it didn't last.
But Ange has been saying this all along, though, hasn't he? He's been saying, like, when people say, what's the target? Winning the league, top 4, Europe. And he's always said, as long as we're getting better each week and the attacking's better, the performances are better, that's my judge. And then the fans can decide what they think. And the reality is we are getting better. This team is getting better and better. And like I said to you boys, I think what he did yesterday is going to rally the troops. I think you're going to see Spurs bounce back. And I think, do you know what? It's very worrying going away to Wolves, where we always struggle or just win or lose by a goal. It's very worrying playing Aston Villa now without centre-backs. Man City, God help us. But I think what he's done is he's just given it food for thought now. Like, is this how it's going to go down? Is this how it ends? I think it was very clever what he did. Do you know what? I'm going to say it, guys. I think Ange's quality, man. I think he's a proper manager, like proper manager. Proper. He's vintage. He's got vintage in him.
I did want to put this up. Look, I don't get too many. I can't put too many. I can't talk too much about the chat. We've got talkers here. We've got Stell, we've got Brian, myself, and Dan. We've got talkers, so it's very difficult to mention the chat as well. But this is interesting, and all I can say is on the Thursday shows, I do it solo. I go over a lot of what's happened on tonight's show, and I full interactivity on the chat. Let's say, and this is, I suppose, this is in opposition of what you're saying, Stelios. Ange is the Australian Ardiles. Football fun to watch, but not sustainable in one of the toughest leagues in the world in football. Stel, do you not think he should have just held back a little bit with 9 men?
No. Well, first of all, there's no proof to back up that comment. It's just an opinion. Secondly, Ange has won everywhere he's been, and everywhere he's been, he's had to take an average situation and turn it into a good situation. He has to work with players that aren't world-class elite and find gems, and he's always seen as a bit of an underdog. Is he not showing us signs of repeating everything he's done everywhere else? Like everything, Ange's success will come down to one thing and one thing only, and all roads lead back to Daniel Levy, right?
Bingo.
I mean, if you want me and Brian to do a 3-hour show and take over on this, I'm happy to do it. But
that's the short version still.
Back the manager. Back him. That's it.
I think he will get backed. I think he will. And I'll say it again. I think the reason he will get backed is for a few points you've made there still. He's used to having to be the underdog. He's not used to having 100 million in his back pocket. I mean, the man's probably never even had 40 million in his back pocket. He's what I would look at as what you would call a Brighton manager. Hasn't got all the money, so has to go in and find the gems. He's obviously done his shopping and done his checking about well before he came Spurs, when he went Celtic and everything. He's always had to look the cheaper versions that have got potential of coming great, the gems, like you said. If Levy goes up to him and basically says, right, there you go, I'm going to give you 60 million in January. Yeah, a lot of us are going to go off their head about it. I think he'll be happy with that, because I think he'll be able to pull in 3 players for 60 mil. Even four players for 60 mil, because he is used to having to look for those little gems. He's already going to half know what he's looking for.
Do you think Levy will sign 4 players? Do you think he'll sign 4 players? Regardless of the money, do you think it will bring 4 players in?
No.
Well, if Ange can go and find 4 players for 60 mil, Levy's going to be laughing and say, there you go, because it's going to make Levy look good. Ange's going to be happy. We're going to be happy. But then you're also going to have the people out there, oh, they only cost 5 million, or he only cost 10 million. Or we're back to the point of the goalkeeper. He only cost 17 million. We wanted the 30 million one. I don't care if the players cost £1 million a piece. If they're the ones that Ange wants, and it all comes up to 50 million, 60 million, and Levy backs him, I'll be a happy man. And I think he will. Because if he can go and get 3 or 4 players for 60 million, that's right up Levy's street. He's just had 2 managers where you can't even get a player in for 60 mil, basically, where they want like 80, 90 million players. I personally think, and I hope I'm not wrong, I think Ange is going to get backed in Ange's way. Not the way Spurs supporters want him to get backed, because we're all saying, like, we want to see 150 million put down there. Well, that's not going to happen. Keep on hoping, everyone. But Ange ain't used to having 100 million or even 50 million in his back pocket. If he gets given 60, I reckon he'll be able to pull us 3-4 players in, because he's used to going looking for the gems.
Dan, the one thing that is clear to me, and I always read between the lines, I don't get sucked into gurus and experts on YouTube. None of them have got the credentials, the experience, the certificates, the knowledge of football the way they think they do. Yet, all of them are talking Spurs. 24/7, they're talking Spurs. There's only 2 reasons you talk about someone, right? One, because you just want to laugh at them and bash them and ridicule them, or 2, there's an inner concern that you're hiding. Like this guy here, Hussam, perfect example. We as Spurs fans, the reason we struggle, right? Brian, look, you jump on it after this, because I know you've got plenty to say on this. The reason we struggle, Dan, is because the chairman doesn't do what's needed for us as fans to really be able to back what we know is possible. We knew what was possible under Poch. We knew what was possible under Mourinho. The guy got us to a cup final. We knew what was possible with Conte when we got top 4. We're seeing now what is possible with this man. We can see it again. We just want a reason to be able to get it over the line, to just for once and say, there you go. We know what we're talking about as Spurs fans. But it's over to Levy whether we're going to be allowed that opportunity, because having 11 men means nothing. 11 men doesn't do jack shit. You need a squad in the Premier League. You need a squad in football. You need a squad. And right now, we do not have a squad, which is why none of us here have said we're going to win the league. None of us have ever said that. Exactly. We all said top 6 Europe be good. Our expectations have gone up because of a good start. Top 4 is on. And still top 4 is on, even with the injury. There's no doubt. But, Brian, I mean, look, is it not a case, yet again, it's not about, oh, Ange is rubbish. Spurs fans talk shit. It's going to come down to the chairman. It's always been the chairman. And anyone who supports Spurs knows that. Anyone who's a Spurs fan knows that. I don't listen to Liverpool, Brighton, United, Man City, West Ham fans. I don't listen to them talk about my club. I don't listen to them because we know our club better than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's see. Where I'll go with this. Well, first of all, let's go back to the original comment about Ozzy and it not being sustainable. Ozzy Ardila was under sugar and he was giving players like Jurgen Klinsmann, Gica Popescu. He had Judas. He had Teddy Sheringham. He had stars. Is it sustainable? Of course it's sustainable if we have strength in depth. Was it sustainable yesterday? No. because we didn't have the strength in depth. Dan was just saying, and Dan knows what I'm about to say because I've been saying it. I've said it on Tottenham Away, said it on my channel. 60 million if you get. I am, as one of the most staunchest Levy outs you will find, have said this January window. I don't care if we spend 5 million. I don't care if we spend 80 million. I don't care if we spend 150 million. That's not where I'm backing or evaluating. Sorry, Daniel Levy. I don't care if they're coming from any part of the world, whatever club in the world they're coming from. Do I know them? Do I know enough about them? Don't care. Tottenham Hotspur need their players in, and Andrew's been very clever this past week. When he was asked about January, he started going, I want my players early. I want my players early. I want my players early. He was asked about it when he was talking about when they spoke about Poch's relationship with Daniel Levy. And Ange Postecoglou said, I don't need to speak to Daniel every day. I don't need the relationship you have with Poch. I don't need to go whitewater after him with him. What I need from him is to trust me. That's what I need, is for him to trust me. This whole January window, as I've been saying, is if we're where we are now in the top 4 race, I'm not going to say league because we're not winning the league. I've never said we're going to win the league. We ain't winning the league. If we're in that top 4 race, we don't know how long Van der Ven's going to be out for till we get the scam. We're losing Sarr, we're losing Basuma, we're losing Son. Players need to come in quickly. Not go into January going, we need Porro or we want Porro. January the 1st, okay, we can get Porro. Oh, let's stall it. Oh, on the 31st at like 8 p.m, then we'll announce Porro. None of that. These players, for once, Andrew said, I want them in early. I want my players early. That's the only way I'm backing. I don't care how much we spend. You know, in January, you're not going to spend like you do in the summer. We brought in Lange, we brought in McKenzie. They're there to work for the summer. This January is Paratici and Ange doing what they do and Scott Munn doing what they do. These players need to come in early, and that's the only way I'm judging them. If we haven't brought players in by like the 11th, let's say 10th, first week and a half of January, I will start piping up. I'll be piping up anyway, but I will start ramping up the pressure myself that he's doing it again.
Do you know what?
I agree.
Years of ownership, 46, it'll be 47 transfer windows in January. I don't have the trust. I don't have the trust for Levy to do it. I'm not even playing devil's advocate here. I'm not being negative. I'm not being negative for the sake of it. I just can't see it. The only way I believe we're going to get a few players in is if we're 5th or 6th, because then we need to push for a top 4 place. If we're top 4, it's don't unbalance the books. The squad's happy. Levy will to say to Ange, you know, why unbalance things? We're doing great as it is. I can see that. I can see that rhetoric from Levy. And I want to call out a few of the. I want to read out some of the chat because this is a good point. Spurs GCTV. We need backing in January, and he's doing early part of the window, as Daigle's just said. But we will need to make space in the squad, and that's one thing. That's one thing we forget about. We need to make space in the squad. And Levy just doesn't allow players to rot in the reserves like we should as an owner. Darryl Denton, big up, big supporter of the channel. How you doing, my friend? We need English players first. This don't get fixed in January. Wishful thinking, though. And do you know what? That's why I wanted Maddison. We very rarely sign proven Premier League players. Maddison, all out. Maybe if you need a centre-back, Guahi, Anderson, 100%. We need not necessarily English, but used to the Premier League. Used to the Premier League. English, well, I suppose it's one more. That's why I never had any issue or worry that Maddison would adapt to the Spurs system. And I've got to say, WTP, thanks ever so much. Always trying to get our likes up and a big part of the channel. Always in the chat too, my friend.
Tommy, I just want to pull you back on something. When you said about players coming, I get it. We want Premier League proven players. You look at this season, Van der Ven, Vicario, Udogie. None of them Premier League experience. In they've come. Ange believed in them immediately. Off you pop. Van der Ven made his debut against Brentford. He only signed 2-3 days before. Yes, we need the English. Yeah, I get that part completely. But the way Ange has got doing this with the team, those players have come in. And look at those 3. Those 3 have, sir. I know what you're saying. Premiership proven players would be much better.
I think it's a balance. I think it's all about balance.
Correct. No, that I agree. Yeah.
Right. I was going to talk about the Ange interview, but we've pretty much summed it up already. And I'm going to do a quick. This is going to be quick. I've been doing this on shows recently because people are ratings mad. These are the ratings for the game. Any ones that you would I don't know, agree with, not agree with, because this seems to be the gospel for how well players are doing all across the board. I have an issue with that myself, but it's not about me. People are very stats orientated now. So looking at, I haven't even looked at this. I haven't even looked at this myself. Madison's high, 7.58.
Charlison didn't even play.
That's a very good point.
This is
Which
that is true. What,
Tommy, is this the right game?
this
Yeah,
is-
it is, because it's Chelsea on the other end. That must have been Brennan Johnson.
that
must
must
be
yes,
Johnson.
Brennan
They got it wrong,
It must
but-
be Brennan Johnson. The rest is correct. The rest is
Yeah, but-
correct.
Yeah.
Mate, I'll very quickly go with it. And
That was
I-
from whoscored.com, who are affiliated with SofaScore, who get all the stats. But
I'm sorry,
it's Brennan Johnson instead of Richie.
I've said it everywhere I've gone today. For me, Vicario's a 10. Yes, he conceded
Yeah.
4 goals. None of them were his fault whatsoever. They could have been
he was
approaching
also
double
like
figures.
having the fourth defender. He was also like having another
He was
defender.
yeah. His sweeper keeping, outstanding.
Yeah.
The saves he was making, mate, I've been saying, he's kind of like Matt Letizia with goal of the month. He's just going to have, this month's Premier League save of the month is just going to be Vicario against Chelsea. That guy could do nothing with any of the goals. How he's only got a 7.1
7.01.
is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
He should at least be a
Nicholas
9.
Jackson got a 6.93 and scored a hat trick.
Vicario's a 10 for me. I don't get.
Yeah,
yes,
but you look. All 3 of his goals were sweaty goals, like you get when you play FIFA. For God's sake, yeah. When he had about 3 chances of a clean shot, what was it? One of them he put a mile wide, and 2 of them he put about 20 yards over the top. To me, he just proved yesterday how much of a crap striker he actually is. He might have got the hat trick, but like I said, the 3 goals he got, each and every one of them was sweaty. 2 of them there, goalkeeper comes out, put it across, tap it in. He couldn't have really failed if he'd have tried to. But for me, he's not a good striker. Not at all. It might be a hat trick, but the whole thing's a lie in that aspect. I saw him put it 20 yards over twice when he had an open shot. He's as bad as Richarlison on a clean shot.
Have you ever been to a game where the away fans are unhappy with the man who scored a hat trick for them, and the home team are applauding a 4-1 loss? Have you ever heard of a scenario where the man that walks away with the ball, they're pissed off with him, and the team that get battered get a standing ovation? Have you ever heard in your life of this man?
Never.
I was there. It was the case. It was absolutely the case.
I mean, on what you said on the ratings as well. For me, Porro's got his rating far too high.
They didn't put Reece James in. They've messed the names up there. So yeah. What can you say?
Porro, he was not a 7.5 or whatever that said there. Not at all. I thought his defending was awful. One thing I do think Porro's getting, I think he's getting a lot of excess credit because he's playing significantly better as a defender than he did last season. But last season, he was about as poor defending as you could possibly get. Where he's playing very average at best defending now, is still significantly better than it was. So he's getting credit like he's playing good defending now, which he isn't. He still isn't.
Mate, I disagree with you, Dan. Respectfully, I think he's the most improved player at the club. I think he's the most improved player at the club. I think he is.
But look how piss poor his defending was. It was shocking.
So some of it was, but in the second half, it livened up. The second half, he was asked to create because of the creativity that was gone. He was the only one of that back line that was still there for the whole 90 minutes. So he was playing with Dyer, Emerson, and whoever was playing at left back at the time when he went off, Højbjerg. It was all completely. I think Porro. Yes, he has the occasional mistake, and you could see in the first half they were getting down the right or our right there left a lot. I think I don't think it was a 7.5 like you just said, but I think he had a good game. Not brilliant. Not, oh my God, let's all write home about it and get T-shirts saying I love Porro. But his delivery's been fantastic as well at dead balls.
I've had Porro's back from the start. People had a go at me last season about his poor defending, and I said, you've got to stick with him. You've got to stick with Porro. He's sort of a little bit like a Alexander-Arnold.
Yes.
Just
He
go
is.
with the attack. Go with the attack. Okay, you know, the defending isn't great, but if it gets you goals, then fantastic.
This is
But
why.
I have to say, do you know what? This is why it's always better to go to games. Always. Because I looked at the extended highlights and I thought Poro done well as well. And I watched extended highlights. But being at the game, he was horrific. He was horrific. Positionally, he was horrific. And unfortunately on the TV, you don't see off the ball. You just don't.
Right.
And if you see off the ball, like Brian will know, Stel will know, you know, Brian's been here a year, basically a year, and he still goes to every game. And you've got to, it opens up. You see the whole pitch. And I've had Poro's back the whole time. People even say I've got an agenda to have Poro's back. But I have to say, as good as Sterling is, positionally, again and again and again, he was out of it. But then we 1-1 in the second half, and he puts a beautiful ball through to Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Beautiful ball through. And if he gets on the end of that, it would be sensational.
Tom,
sensational goal.
I'm not saying he's been bad, yeah? But he's defending, he is our liability at the back.
He can be.
There's no can be about it. He is blatantly our weak spot at the back. Getting forward and everything and playing as a whole, do you know what he reminds me of? And I've said this last night and I've said it before, but people don't think I'm putting these two that I'm going to say in the same quality of player. Yes, very similar to a Trent as well, and I'll put him into this as well. It reminds me a bit of a Gareth Bale. Why does he remind me a bit of a Gareth Bale? Now, not the same quality, not the same standard, nowhere within a mile, yeah? But Gareth Bale was good as a left-back, wing-back, but he couldn't tackle shit and everything else. Harry Redknapp came in, had a couple of games with him and said, no, mate, no. Get up there. I personally think, like I also think with Trent, and I think we might have a chance to see it, you go stick Poro up on the right wing, I think you'll see the most out of him. Now, we're going to be in a bit of trouble for where we're going to have players and everything next. One thing I really would not mind seeing is up front, it's going to be a bit tight now because we've got no backup up there whatsoever. So at the back, if we have to do a Davis, Dyer, Phillips, put Emerson there because I still think he's defensively better than Poro. I would say stick Poro up on the right, Kulusevski in the middle, if Madders is injured, Johnson on the left, Son in the middle. I really, really, really want to see Poro up on the right. Same as I think you'd get the most out of Trent up on the right, because that man can cross a ball. Poro can run with it, he can dribble it, he can cross it, he's got a good pass, but the man can't defend for shit.
Brian, Stel, people in the chat, have you heard of this comparison before? Because Dan said it on Sunday night, and I was like, do you know what? Look, Gareth Bale's world class. It's not the
I'm
worst
not saying they're in the same
comparison.
quality.
No, but just in terms of his attacking ability and positioning, not being the greatest defender. And I was like, as I said, people in the comments, let me know if you've heard that comparison before. I haven't heard it. And my hair stood up, and I haven't got many hairs. So that's, you know, that's a big deal.
I don't think any of us have, mate. That's been a Spurs supporter.
It's a big deal. I think Brian's got the longest hair for tonight's show. Yeah.
Mate, I don't think so.
Have you seen that comparison? Have you seen that comparison?
Are we comparing hair follicles now? Are we just gonna?
We're all going
I've
to
got
Turkey
longer
and get
ones
our
at the
hair
front.
done. Oh, that's your teeth, isn't it? Where'd you go to get your hair done? Is it Turkey as well?
Turkey.
I've gone for
They
the.
paying 10 grand in London.
I've gone for a bit of a razor
But
rod.
seriously, about what I've said there, what do you think on that?
Go on, Stel, you first.
What, the team lineup you picked?
Poro on the right wing. Let's say Madders is injured. I think Dan has said before, Kulusevski at cam, and then I don't know, Emerson right back, Poro right wing. Do you think that can work?
So for me, a winger needs to be able to take on a man. I don't think Poro can take on a man. I think he can run past a man, but I don't think he can take on a man. If you think of top wingers, Giggs, Iron Robin, Damien Duff, whether Garrett, Ginola, they can all beat a man. Kulusevski can beat a man. He's got the skill. Might have the pace, but he's got the skill. I just don't think Poro can beat a man. I just want Poro to make overlapping forward runs. So when we drive down the wing, make the overlapping runs so we can feed you in and then go in and then take a shot, get your cross in. We don't seem to play with overlapping wide players anymore. We did it when we played Crystal Palace, and that worked when and Johnson come on, but we don't seem to do it on Porro's side of the pitch. Kulu and Porro don't work well together in the attacking phase. I don't know why.
They should really on paper because Kulusevski's inside, Porro's outside. It was the same with Perisic and Son. Perisic is outside, Son's inside. Should have worked, but it just didn't work. It's one of those. It's one of those crazy things. I suppose Ange's inverted fullback system means that sometimes with Kulu coming inside, they're both heading in the same direction. I guess that's an issue to a certain extent. Right, Dietrich, how you doing, my man? And we've got to say thank you very much last night.
Look at the Canadians on the bottom. The Canadians on the bottom.
How's everyone?
Dan's internet went a bit haywire, and you held the stream, my man. How you doing?
Yes, he did.
What have you got to say about?
And he done it very well.
So far, everything.
He's got a Harry Kane picture. He's got Bayern away TV, stealing it from Tottenham away. He's changed it to Bayern. Right? What's going on here? What you support? Spurs, Bayern Munich, Canada, Morocco. Who do you support?
Well, you took the picture from last night.
First of all, how are you doing, you beautiful?
It's a new thing I've just made.
How are you doing, you beautiful people? Except Stell, you bald-headed.
Hey, at least I showed my face on the show. At least I showed my face.
Well, at least I'm consistent with my opinions, unlike you, that would skip.
Oh, come on then, we're listening.
Dietrich woke up and chose violent.
I'm all ears. Let's hear your waffle. Share it with us.
Well, my first waffle is I wasn't impressed yesterday, especially from Romero. I think he's a dumbass. And Udogie, I can't blame him. He's 20 years old. Like, what more can you do? But I know you guys are going to cuss me. I just didn't agree with the high line, especially when you have Dyer and Emerson at center back. It is what it is. We lost. We move on. But for me, it's not the result that kills me. It's the outcome that happened after, which are the injuries and the red cards. And now that I heard Dan saying like he would love to see Poa on the right wing. I would love to see that, but unfortunately, we don't have a left back. So who's gonna play left back?
Right back.
Ben Davis is injured. So who?
Oh right, yeah. I get where you're coming from now. We're in a mess of a situation, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's just one thing I personally think. I mean, look what happened against Liverpool. We just could not break them down come love nor money. And I think me and you, Dietrich, were talking about this last night, yeah?
Yeah.
Just get that bloody cross in there. Drill it in there. Don't keep trying to float it. Drill it in there. Like we said about Maddison last night, and I'll take you to that one in a minute, because this is where me and you have now got a chance to take on 3 other people. And no, we agreed with this last night.
Yeah.
Don't think I forgot about this one, mate.
Yeah.
We're gonna end up having an argument here, me and you against these 3, I reckon. Maybe not, but I reckon. Now, so Ange was seeing how it was going. Kulusevski just couldn't get the proper cross in there. You saw Ange, he pulled him over and said, right, basically, the way I saw it is he basically said, Kulusevski, get the ball, get back, Porro, overlap him, underlap him, whatever way you got to do it, and just drill it in there. Why? Because he can. Did it straight away within 2 minutes, bang, there you go, rebound in the back of the net. Some say it's luck. For me, that's luck we made ourselves. So that is why I think he could do a very good job up there. But the one I'm going to divert to here, people who didn't see the show last night, is me and Dietrich actually had a good chat about how Jamie Maddison is excellent, but he's actually also quite annoying.
Yeah.
And to actually find someone else who agreed with me on this, I was quite shocked, because on a lot of other sites and this and that, we get called crazy. I will say with Maddison, he is absolutely excellent. He has been brilliant, but at times I think he too much wants to do things so it looks good. There's been several times I've seen him when he's come wide, when he could just cross the ball in or drill it through, but no, twinkle toes, has to go round a couple of people before he does it. Sometimes I just think, Maddison, just bloody pass it, don't run it, don't do this. And I think there's been a few times where he's been a bit too much twinkle toes when he could have just drilled it in there.
But
Now,
you saw,
back me up on this.
I agree. I saw it, like, even against Luton and yesterday. Do you know sometimes when you see Maddison going on the left, just helping out whoever plays there, either Richarlison or Brennan Johnson, if you have the ball and you have Son making the run, the best way, if you're not comfortable with your left foot, just do it outside the foot and hope for the best. Drill the ball, you might get a deflection, it might go in. But sometimes what annoys me with him, and even Kulu, they try to do too much. Always has to be that 5-star skill before
I
drilling
agree.
the ball. Sometimes
Well,
it's easy.
Dietrich, let me just add to that very, very quickly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what James Maddison did against Crystal Palace for the first goal. He just smashed it in
Exactly.
immediately.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
point. But
And
9
you even
times out of 10, he'll try and do it a little bit classy. And I'm not slating the man in any way,
Me too.
but it is a point that we're both picking on him, that sometimes he just wants it to look too good, it seems, at times. Sometimes.
You saw Paul do it against Liverpool, and you saw him like yesterday. You know, with the crosses and with the free kicks. Sometimes when you put that hard ball, it's so hard to defend. It's one of the hardest things to defend. But when you try to lob it, when you try to lob it, it's like you can see like the defenders trying to adjust their position. But when you drill, like you catch them by surprise every single time. And you saw the deflection goals that always happen this year. So many own goals happen just of like a hard pass down to the ground.
How many times do we lose possession and there's no positive outcome by doing that as well? Have you counted those, or are you just remembering the good moments? Because I tell you now,
I remember.
No manager or coach is going to tell a good player or any player, just do this and hope for the best. There's no planning then. There's no one trains to hope for the best when you make a decision, right? You make a decision to cross pass, shoot, but that's what you said, Dietrich. You said just hope for the best.
No, but like, do you remember against Crystal Palace, like before the goal, he had the option to just pass it, but he took a touch. Then he dragged it like under his foot to make it like he's gonna go on his left foot. Like sometimes the easy option can just help the team, and he always makes it 2 times harder.
Dietrich, I'll add to that as well. But what I will say is, during a lot of our games this season, there's been a lot of incidences, not with just Maddison, where we've tried to do what we all used to say Arsene Wenger wanted to do, that perfect goal with one too many passes.
Exactly.
Maddison has done it, but I've seen Sarr do it. I've seen Basuma do it. I've seen Porro do it. I've seen Kulusevski do it. I've seen. We have tried when we've got into it. Listen, we have played like that goal for Son that got disallowed. Some of our passing going up to leading up to like a shot on goal has been incredible. And Maddison, what I will say with Maddison that I've personally seen from him is I would have expected to see more shots from distance from him. There's been times where he's had it where he could have, and we know that his long range shooting is incredible. Not saying it's a bad thing for him, but I thought I would have seen more. But he's seen passes that I wouldn't have seen, or not a lot of us would have seen. But there's been quite a few incidences where, as a team, we've taken too many touches. I can see where you're going with Maddison, because obviously he's the creator, he's the bright light that everything's going to go through. But I think it's more than just him.
Because for me, like, I'm not trying to diss him. I love James Maddison. I think he's the best.
Excellent player. Neither of us are.
But my problem with him, sometimes he wants to do the perfect pass, and that doesn't happen every single time you have the ball. Sometimes just try something easy. Don't try to do like the flicks and tricks. Make it count every single time. That's my only problem. Like, even against Chelsea, you saw it. Quick passes, goal.
Right, chaps.
And it's
Chat,
no one saying he's been bad.
On these shows, Tuesday night shows, I don't like to go much further than 2 hours. We've got about 40 minutes.
Sorry,
left.
it was just a point I wanted to bring up that me and Dietrich spoke about last
Absolutely,
night.
and it's a good point. It's a divided point. The comment section is divided too on the matter.
But neither of us are saying he's not brilliant.
I was talking to a Chelsea fan earlier, and I had to put this up. We haven't even talked about Pochettino. We haven't talked about Pochettino at all. And he's trying to convince me of this. You just got Pochettinoed. Stel, is there any truth to this? Did he do a job on us? Poch, do you think?
No, Spurs did a job on Spurs, as we always do. But the one thing I will say about
Chelsea get no praise. You won't praise Chelsea at all. I'm not forcing you to. I'm just asking a question.
No, because it's Romero and Udogie who did something that had nothing to do. Chelsea didn't force or tell Romero and Udogie to do what they did. They never got into their heads and wound them up and made them do it. We just lost our freaking minds. What I'll give Pochettino praise for last night is two things. One, he was the coolest person on the day.
No, he
was calm.
wasn't.
Yeah, he was. He was the calmest person.
No, he
on the
wasn't.
day. Yes,
You
he
can
was.
see on the TV.
It's my assessment, right? For me,
You're lying.
he was the calmest. He was calmer than Ange. Ange got booked, got a yellow card. Pochettino, for me, kept his cool the entire occasion. Before, during, and after. He kept his cool. So I'm going to give him a lot of praise for that. Also, when we were down to 9 men, he made the right subs to capitalize on it, which I don't think was a hard thing to do, but he still did it. Did we get Pochettinoed? No. Like I said, Spurs shot themselves in the foot. Those sendings off were the game. Yeah, we screwed ourselves over, man. It's like, and that's not Ange's fault either. He never told Romero and Dogi to do that. So we never got Pochettino, but Pochettino stayed calm the whole time. I watched it from up in the stands.
Can I just, who watched the game like on TV here?
Me.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember a certain time when he lost his mind when the Chelsea scored and he just started screaming at them every single time when we were down to 9 men? First of all, Stan, you're wrong. Because I know you're the Pochettino lover.
Giving your players instructions because you're not happy with what you're seeing, that's not losing your cool.
That's even not doing no Arteta.
Even
didn't do no Arteta where he run up and down the pitch screaming at the fans, screaming at the ref, everything else. I think
even Ange got booked. Even Ange got booked.
Did you hear why he got booked?
Watching, what indicated that he lost his cool? Is it in his mannerisms or his substitutions?
If you think, right, this game was built up, the returner Poch, to boo him and not to boo him. And mate, he just came, got on with it, left. I just think he kept a cool head throughout the whole thing. No, we haven't spoken about Poch. The fact we haven't spoken about Poch shows you he just played it cool, man. I'm not here to praise him. I want to praise Ange. I want to praise Spurs.
And it's debate, this is it. This is all I've seen, and I don't even think that might not be Poch. It's like Bono.
That's designed to make you react. It's designed to make you react.
And have you seen why or heard why Postecoglou got booked?
I think it was the red card.
The reason he got booked was he spent too long outside of his technical box. And I'm like, have you seen Arteta? Did you watch Antonio Conte? I used to say, and still I was with Still at matches, I used to say to Still, if you watch Antonio Conte, he treats that technical box like it's a CSI murder case, and you can't go in there because the forensic examiners need to go in there and check it. He was always around it, outside it, up and down, never inside that box. Look at all these. But Postecoglou gets booked for being outside of his technical area too many times. When has that ever happened?
I found that crazy.
But was it after the red card? He got a yellow card.
Yeah.
It was sometime in the. I can't remember what hub was, but he's even come out and said, when he was asked, why did you get booked? I was told it was because I kept coming out of my technical area.
Honestly, I respect Ange. For me, Poch is the most overrated coach we ever seen in my life. Never really.
Based on what?
That's some claim.
That's
some claim.
Anyone on this panel would agree. You give Ange Poch starting 11 or Mourinho, he would win us the title or the FA Cup minimum.
No, I don't think the starting 11. I don't think starting 11 was anything.
I agree with. We saw a Conte team yesterday. After someone else said, that was a Conte defense. It was Dyer, Royal.
Yeah,
it was a Conte.
You give these two managers that squad, I swear they would win a title. I can promise you that.
That was
this claim you're making. What's this claim you're making?
That wasn't a Conte defense. That was a Conte defense.
Mourinho challenged. No, before everything went like pretty bad, we were first with the worst starting 11. We were first. Even Conte played so well with Dyer at centre back.
But the difference is, no, I disagree with you here. Mourinho,
even the midfield.
Mourinho for me, Mourinho had the best striker in the world. We don't now, right? He had the best striker in the world, right? Let's who bailed us out for 5 years straight. Let's have that right. That's why your name's
Yes, he did.
Dietrich Kane. Dietrich Kane is your name for a reason, right? Thank you. And yeah, should we end it there? Should we just stop right there? Is the argument over? Right?
No.
Mourinho, what he did was not sustainable. The way he was going about it was not sustainable. The level of opposition we had. At least, and we can see, just like Poch, by the way, we can see what they tried to do. As long as you stuck to it, was something sustainable. This is something you can build on and keep doing. Where we went wrong was we went from Poch ball to Mourinho to Conte to Nuno, Stellini, Mason. Just stick with a way. Now you've got Ange. It's working because this is a sustainable way. Listen, Dietrich, let me ask you something. If we had 9 men on the pitch last night under Conte Mourinho, what the fuck would have happened? They would have even tried. This lot, this lot left everything out on that pitch for the club last night. Even the fringe players, Dyer, Højbjerg, and Skip, they left everything on that pitch. Would that have happened under Mourinho and Conte? I don't think so.
No. I'll give you.
I agree with both, but at the end of the day, we still lost 4-1 at home to Chelsea.
Yeah, we lost 4-1, but can I give you an argument?
Situation. We lost 4-1 at home.
Mourinho lost 3-0 to Dynamo Kiev Chickens, whatever they're called.
Do you remember?
Wasn't it? I mean, that was one insane game.
Do you remember the first year of Mourinho, the way the players were fighting for him? If it happens next season with Ange, I would say, you know what, you're right. But that's only 4 months. Even last year, first year with Mourinho when he put Arsenal.
So why don't you wait until 4 months? So why don't you wait till 4 months before you make that big claim now?
What?
You just said after 4 months. So why don't you wait after 4 months before saying it now?
No, I'm saying next year, if the players fight again for the badge, I would say yes. But every player, every season.
Okay, so wait a year.
New manager,
wait a year.
Fight. Yeah.
Okay, but you're judging Mourinho off of 18 months worth, and you're trying to make a comparison with someone who's been on the job for 3 months. It's not a fair comparison.
Because I compare him with Poch. I saw a winner. Okay, let me ask you, who had a better start?
Poch was at the club for 5 years, though. He never got back for 2 of those years.
Yeah, and he failed. He miserably failed.
No, Levy failed.
No. He failed the FA Cup and the League Cup. Nobody told him not to take it seriously. That's him. That is on him. Don't say anything else.
You think we had a squad to go for the Premier League, Champions League, Europa Cup, and Carabao Cup?
No.
If Spurs this week had Europe, we are finished. We are absolutely finished if we had Europe right now.
Yeah, but
Poch had to deal with that. Poch had to deal with that, Dietrich.
Yeah, but he said, I don't care about the League Cup. I don't care about the FA Cup. Let me fight for top 4. How is that a good manager? Mourinho would never accept that. He would say, "Let me be 12."
I mean, look, the 9 subs against Fulham, we lost. We're not in a trophy. There are criticisms to be made. I stick up for Ange in that situation. I felt like he had to.
Mourinho lost to Norwich at home at our ground the season Norwich got relegated. He lost to Norwich.
He had, who did he play? What's his name?
Gedson Fernandes, Troy Parrott.
You get some Fernandes, Troy Parrott.
Look, I think it was a blessing.
We had 9 men. We had 9 men last night.
Losing the Carabao Cup against Fulham, I thought was a blessing in disguise. I don't think we'd have been unbeaten for as long as we were, because we can't play 2 games in a week with this squad. So I do think it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Postecoglou took that risk, and I don't think it was the worst risk. But I agree. At this stage, I think people are going a bit insane about Ange. I think we're going a bit over the top after 10 games.
Tommy, we're
going
losing.
A bit crazy after 10 games. Same as some of the players that have played extremely well.
Tommy, I found it a disgrace. We're losing 4-1 and everyone is screaming Ange Postecoglou. Like, come on. You're losing 4-1.
We never gave up, Dietrich. We still tried to.
But don't scream for the manager. Just boo. Who screams after 4-1? I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
I think Dietrich, I think a point on this one, yeah. I mean, I totally get where you're coming from here, yeah. I'm totally getting your point here. But I've said to a lot of people that I think in some aspects, Postecoglou had one of the easiest jobs a manager has ever had.
100%.
And the easy part of the job was winning the fans.
Yeah.
Now that's usually a hard part. I could have took that job. Brian, Stell, you, Tom, Mickey Mouse could have took that job and won the fans over in 2 games. That's all he had to do was play attacking football. That's all the man had to do. So in that aspect,
this is wrong.
So in that aspect, he had it easy. The rest of it, has not been easy at all. The only easy part he had was winning the fans over. The fact that we played and did not give up yesterday, and the fact that we've, like games against Liverpool, we'd have either lost that or it would have stayed as a draw. He's given us that extra.
We would have lost it.
Either way, whether it would have been a draw, lost it, whatever. Sheffield, we would have lost that. He's given us that extra fight. Push. Don't give up. Keep going. And that is where he's won it even more. But the bit I'll agree on is at the very start, he had an easy job.
Conte had an easy job when he took over Spurs because we were 12th in the league.
He didn't have an easy job.
He took over Spurs, we were 12th in the league.
Did you see the back four still? But did you see the back four Conte had?
All right, Joe, let me take over what Stell was saying and Harbour, because here I'm completely the opposite side. Winning the fans over, blah, blah, blah.
That's the only thing I'm making a point on.
Ange Postecoglou came into a football club that was absolutely broken. Absolutely broken. The pressure that people like Stell and myself got on the board at that time, the amount of friction between the fan base itself, the lack of belief in the board, the players that we wanted to get rid of. He came in quite late. All our rivals in the top six, let's just say we're a top six team, Tottenham were one of the big six. All of their managers started planning for their summer and everything during the season.
Don't know what happened there.
Ange Postecoglou came in with the least amount of time, with the most amount of work to do. He had to change a football philosophy that had been goddamn dire, low block, defensive, counter-attack, backwards, forwards. He lost his captain, or he lost the greatest striker in our goal scorer in our history. Our icon, the major player, had to deal with that, had to try and get the crap out, brought in players, and had to come in and totally change the way of football. We've had defensive Jose Nuno Conte, defensive. Couldn't get shit out of any of them, apart from Kane and Son and a couple of bright spots. He came in with the most amount of work to do and the least amount of time to do it. Yes, he won the fans over attacking football, but again, he had to do a fuckload more than that.
That's
Brian,
the only bit I was talking about.
This is what I sort of agree with Dan here. All the stuff you've just said is why there's no pressure on Ange. There was no pressure on Ange for all of those things. But there was very little. We finished 8th, and he lost Kane. We were in the worst situation.
Of course there was pressure on him.
And the pressure's not really on there.
Of course there was pressure on him, mate. If we'd got off to a start like with Nuno, 1-3, and then it went fucking downhill, the whole world would have come down on him. We would have gone mad for Levy. It would have turned absolutely even more. Mate, it was so toxic last season. Whether it was Levy out or whatever it may be, it was toxic last season. I walked out of that Manchester United 2-2 and vowed never to step foot in there again till he's gone. I go to away games. The Brentford game, that final game where we lost 3-1, it was shocking in there. And I went and protested with a few people after that game. If Andrew got off to a bad start, this would have collapsed. Would have collapsed. Knowing me, I'd probably still be in England.
I disagree with that bit, yeah?
No,
I'm agreeing on 90% of what you're saying, yeah? But the only point I'm making, if we would be in 8th place now, yeah, but he was still playing attacking football and giving it its all, we'd still be sitting here half happy.
I agree.
Because the main thing he had to do, because it was, I'm going with what you said, because it was so toxic and everyone was against each other and everything else, the main thing that everyone agreed with, even the people, Levy in, Levy out, this, that, everything else, was we couldn't stand the shit football we were playing anymore. Literally everyone, I'd say 95% of Spurs supporters, whether they agreed with this, whatever, we just wanted attacking football. I'm only saying the easy job he had of winning the fans, not uniting the fans together, but winning the fans to get to work with him, was play attacking football. Well, if we would be in 8th place now, but still be playing attacking football like we have been, maybe lost the game with Liverpool, maybe lost the game with Sheffield, whatever, but still be giving it our all up there, we'd all still be happy with him. Whatever.
Everyone was
expecting this to happen.
Everyone at the stadium was screaming for Poch's name. Like, you can tell it was only attacking football, and everyone's going to be happy. And we're not in the relegation zone.
I
The
don't think
rest
they would
of
be
it
calling for
is
Poch.
not easy, but winning the fans, I think, was his easiest job. The rest of it, he's got a nightmare of a job. I'll agree, but winning the fans, simple as in that aspect. Again, I'll say it again. If we was in 7th or 8th now, but still playing the attacking football the way he does it, I'd say a majority of us would still be happy.
Yeah.
Daigle, I want to move on from that a little bit here. I want to move on slightly. What do you think as a protest? You've been to all the protests. I've been to a few. Stel goes to all the protests too. Where do you think the placards of Ange out would begin? 3 losses. Let's say we lost the next 2 games.
No.
In terms of not how good he is, but in terms of the fan base, how fickle the fan base are.
Well, this is the point. Believe me, I mean, if I was back in England, I know what I would be doing. And obviously, I'm very, very tight with the. I'm part of the organisers that do everything, as is Stel and everything. If people started screaming for Ange out, like they did, people can say what they want about me, Stel, whether the way we conduct ourselves, whether what we say, what we do, we always stay constant. It's always we back the managers, we back the players, we do not back the owner. We do not back him, we do not trust him, we do. If fans started turning on Ange again, because after every single manager, after Jose, this is his last chance. Nuno, this is his last chance. Conte, this is his last chance. If the Ange out starts this season, which it bloody well shouldn't, then it just goes to show that this fan base, like I was talking to Stel, and the reference I used at the beginning before Stel came on was from Stel when he said, when we sacked Pochettino, people were doubting his substitutions and the timing and what it was making. Then we had the 3 managers. It was, this is shit football. There's no creative spark. We're swapping defenders for strikers for defenders. When we're losing, you're arguing about the football, the style. Then you get Ange in and you want attacking football. Then you have a go at him for playing attacking football. If we have another scenario where, like Dan just said, all he has to do is play attacking football. If anyone this season starts calling for Ange out, let's wait till January. And once January, we'll see what happens. If we have a shit January and the results go downhill and people start calling for Ange to be out, they are. Listen, I
agree.
People,
For me,
it's just
I
ridiculous.
agree.
Forget January. Forget
start,
January. Do you see a situation where we don't win the next 4 games? We lose 3 in a bounce. Where certain Spurs fans will start coming out with Ange out. Do you believe that there's any?
We could lose 3 games in a row at any point in the season. That can happen to any club. Man City lost 2 in a row. They nearly lost 3. That can happen to anyone at any point. So yeah,
that's fine. But do you think the fan base will stick with Ange? That's the question.
Yeah, I think they will.
Agree with this one, yeah.
I think they will. I think the fans 100% will stick with Ange because they know we've got an injury crisis. They know we've just lost our 2 best defenders. Everyone was leaving out because we weren't buying the players the managers needed. And the key positions were defence. We finally fixed it and we've lost 3 of them. So with all due respect, if fans then moan on that, I will go hell leather after our fan base. But like I said to you, Tommy,
agree.
I'm sick. Listen, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, right? That's why Dietrich's saying, you can be sick of whatever you want. You love me deep down, right? We blamed Poch. We blame Mourinho. We blame Conte. We lose 1 game. Let's slam this manager's tactics. Fuck my life, man. When are we going to stop blaming managers? When is that? Not you, Dan, but this is what's been going on social media. When is this going to stop? When are we going to point the finger and say, right, you didn't want to buy 2 centre-backs in the summer. Fucking deal with it, Spurs fans. You didn't want to back Levy out. Deal with it, Spurs fans. You didn't want to bring in a striker to replace Kane. Deal with it, Spurs fans. Right? This is what it comes down to. If you don't want to build a squad and you just want the bare minimums, then this is what will happen every time. Every single freaking time.
100%.
It happened to Poch. It happened to Conte. It happened to Mourinho. So when the 1 game we lose, right, in a big game, of course, this was a big one, right? This was a big game.
Yeah.
1 big game we lose, this guy's tactics. He's naive. Fucking hell, I give up. Listen, Tommy, I don't have the energy for the argument anymore because I know how pathetic it is.
This is where Spurs fans, we are one of the top 3 worst out there as a whole, yeah? Spurs fans in general are as bad as Liverpool and as bad as Arsenal, if not worse at times, yeah? But the whole point I was making, yes, this could all change within the next 3 games, 5 games, by the end of the season, January, whatever. The only point I was making was at the very start of the season to win the fans over. And as all he had to do was play attacking football. And like I said, if we was in 7th or 8th now, but still play attacking, we'd still be giving him a lot of time for it because he was giving us what we was all screaming for.
And
how this can all change, 1 second, how this can all change, if people start turning on him now, just because of that game, then I'm 100% with Stel on what he said there. Because squad-wise, anybody with half a Scooby-Doo about football can see that we've just lost basically half our squad there. We've just lost half our 11.
Last night was
we
a
ain't
disaster.
got a squad.
100%.
Exactly.
I'm with
Exactly.
that as well. I'm with Ange, even if he finished 8th, 7th this season, I'm with Ange all the way. I don't trust the fan base. I do not trust the fan base to be. That's how I see it.
I'm agreeing.
I don't trust the fickle nature of this fan base.
There's going to be a civil war amongst the fans this time. But no, do you know what? I take it back. I say this all the time. I'll take it back.
No, but
you said this about Conte. I heard this about Conte.
No, you're right. That's why I said I'll take it back.
If Levy doesn't back Conte, and Conte
I'll take it back. I'll take it back. I'll take it back.
We will revolt. We will revolt.
Tommy, what I've got to say with this is, like I said, and I said it earlier, and I'm going to use me and Stel as the main example because me and Stel on YouTube are very, very outspoken about this, as are others like yourself, Tommy, Danny, Kiri. I could start reeling names, but me and Stel,
because we support Spurs, not Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
I can hardly speak.
No, but we don't pull any punches. We are very, very direct. We are very, very outspoken, and we rub a lot of people up the wrong way. That's life. You're going to have that. But one thing that never changes with me and Stel, it is Levy out, 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 Levy out. It's not, oh, Levy out, oh no, he's good, he's in, oh no, manager's good, oh no, let's get him out. We don't. The message from me and Stel and others, but I use me and Stel because of the platform we have and we use and promote and speak about regularly and get abuse for. And you've heard other content creators now starting saying if people are talking about Levy out, poison and using these other words, it's not poison. We stay constant. No matter what happens, no one can ever say or ever call Stel me a flip-flop when it comes.
Exactly.
No,
is
a good
exactly.
thing.
You two are the pinnacle of not being the exact opposite of being that. But
Brian, you see the campaign I've started. Back Ange or Levy out. Back him in January, non-negotiable.
I just want to say, I love yours and Daigle's optimism that the fan base aren't fickle, but I believe they are. I believe they are. And
a majority
you are not flip-floppers.
A majority are. It's just a very shame that I do fight again. Liverpool, Spurs, and Arsenal are the worst for it as a whole in general. You've got people like us 5 on here and 1 or 2 others I could name, but I won't bring names into it. But then I could also bring in another 5, and I've only been doing this for 4 or 5 months, that are the total opposite of what I'm going to say. One thing you can definitely say about people on here is what you see is what you get. People aren't just going to say things to keep other people happy or to go with the flow. Oh, shit, everyone's turning on him now. I got to turn on him as well. Or everyone's supporting him, whoever it will be, Levy, manager, whatever. I'll start supporting him now. No, with the 5 you've got on here and a couple of others I can name, what you see is what you get. And a lot of people, they don't like that because a lot of people just like to go with the flow. And Spurs fans are one of the worst ones for it. We are terrible at we don't stick together. We don't fight for the club as a whole. And too many, I feel, as soon as a couple kick off, right, this manager's doing crap, we want him out. Oh, yeah, we want him out. We want him out. There's too many that just go with the flow. But again, with people on here, like we are at the moment, what you see is what you get. Some opinions change, but a hardcore fact of it doesn't.
Still, that avatar's brilliant. Is that a new clothing brand you want to You want to announce? Or so I'm still standing.
Oh, what?
That's brilliant, man.
I'm still standing.
And Tom,
I love
Yeah.
it. I
quick
love
one
it.
down
I
here.
wish it was a
Yeah.
clothing brand.
What were you saying, brother? You know.
Before Stel
what you
speaks,
got
I'm going to need to make a very quick move. Got to go do some things with my wife. So listen, everyone on the screen, love you to bits. Speak to you soon. Everyone in the chat, have a
care.
wonderful evening, afternoon, daytime, whatever it is. Everyone subscribe to Tommy and Dan at the Hotspur Hood. Have a wonderful evening. And as always, Levy out.
Peace out.
Take
And
care,
bye.
everyone, get over to Tottenham Tour. Go and subscribe to Tottenham Tour if you haven't already. I'm pretty sure you have. But still, you wanted to come in there. But first, Daryl Denton, a £10 super chat. Thank you ever so
And
much.
again,
it really is appreciated. Big
Thanks a
support
lot,
of the channel. Even when we got 3 or 4 people watching, which is a lot of the time, Daryl's always here putting his say in, and I really, really appreciate it. Even without the money, you know, the money's not important. We've got people like WTP, Daryl Denton, always here. Fantastic guest. And the chat is
well
fire
appreciated.
tonight. Absolutely fire tonight. What I will say is 70% of the people watching don't subscribe. If you're watching and haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. I think we're 1 away from 60 likes as well. Do all of that. It's completely free. So thank you. And now Stelios, you've got a lot to say. I know you're sitting there with a lot to say. So what's your view on the whole of this situation? You know, can we? How long will it take? What will it take for the Spurs, in your view, Spurs fans to start lifting those placards? Ange out.
Just a capitulation, isn't it? I mean, the football's not going to change. The football's still going to be good, so that they can't use that as a reason. It will be. Look, this is a really difficult one because and just kind of made his bed here a bit as well, right? He's put himself in a bit of a situation, but it could be what he thinks is the best way to get this board to back him. He's the only manager that's ever come out that said, I have the final say on the players, right? Don't blame anyone, blame me if it doesn't work, right?
Not even Conte
He's
said
taken
that.
Right? Conte never said that. Mourinho never said that.
You're right.
Poch never said that. Redknapp never said that. He's come out and said it.
Yep.
So if we keep buying players, it's on you, Ange, right? So all fingers will point to Ange. The only way it will change if it falls apart, if Ange comes out and says, look, they promised things and they've gone back on their word. I was lied to. This is on them. Now, if he does that, no manager's ever done that. Even Conte never said that. He suggested it, but he never said it. That's the only way I think fans will turn, is if a manager that they like Poch had that with the fans. He had that connection with us. If Poch turned around and said, look, not signing players for 2 years, it's not what I want. They want this. I was never told this is going to happen. I don't know what they expect from me. I'm doing my best the best I can. You know, get off my back. They're the ones you need to speak to. I never signed up to this. If Poch did that in his peak, the fans would have turned against Levy. So that's the only way of changing. But is Ange that guy to do that? I don't think he is. He doesn't come across like that kind of a person. But listen, he's Mediterranean. Mediterraneans, you think you know, but you don't know, right? They're like that. They can just, at a moment, just lose it. So I don't know, Tommy. I don't know, man. Like, I hope Dan's right. That, for me, that's the outcome I want. I hope Dan's right and they back this manager. I hope all these years they've been saying, oh, we couldn't because we're building the stadium. Oh, we couldn't because of COVID. Oh, we couldn't because of this. Oh, we're sorry. You know, I felt under pressure and I made mistakes. Right, fine. Now, there is no COVID. You've got the money coming in. The stadium's built. You've got the manager you want. You're signing good players. You've restructured the academy. You've restructured the directors, the scouts. Okay, there cannot be any freaking way, unless we go to World War III, where there's an excuse now. Where's the excuse line now? So
you're right.
I hope Dan's right. And they kill him. I really do.
But
I think he will get backed, like I said, but it is going to be for the wrong reason he gets backed as such, but we don't care as long as he does get backed. I think the reason he will get backed is because he's not going to be asking for 60, 70, 80 million players. And in a way, it's the wrong reason why he's getting backed. He's getting backed because he's going to be asking for cheaper. But as long as they're what he wants,
But Dan,
and it is he's getting
what
backed,
if?
I'm a happy
But
man.
Dan, what if Postecoglou agreed to that way when he joined? What if he said, "Look,
I think
I'm happy with £40 million, £30 million, the odd academy player. I'm happy with that as long as I get to pick them."
Yeah, fine. That's why I reckon he will get backed, because I don't. If he would have come in, he would have said, "Give me 50 million. I know what I want to do with it." This is what I'm saying. Why I think he will get backed, because that's right up Levy's backside. That's right what he wants. He does not want someone sitting there wanting 80 million players. And like I said, in a way, it's the wrong reason that he's going to get backed. But he is the type of manager that you would expect to, like I keep saying, Brighton, like he's been at other small clubs. Celtic. Now, some say to me Celtic's a massive club, but money-wise, no, it's not. He's always had to deal with tuppence and look for the little gems, like you said earlier, and give him 50, 60 million. I personally think he'll be able to go out there and go 1, 2, 3. That's who I want. Thank you very much.
Dan,
This is where I disagree. This is where I disagree, Dan. I'll let you get in 2 seconds still.
Yeah.
In those leagues, in the Japanese league, Australian national team, obviously they don't buy players. Celtic, the teams around him don't have money either. That is, the money he's getting is relevant to the league in Celtic. The relevance to this league is sometimes you need 50, 60, 70 million pound players. It's as simple as that, because it's a different
I disagree.
It's a different standard of quality.
No,
it's a completely
no,
different
I get what you mean. But you can Brighton prove what you just said wrong. You don't need that. You don't need 50 million pound players. Yes, if you want to go and be a world-class team.
They're almost the exception.
But no, there's other teams that do it as well because they haven't got the money to do it. So it's basically just countered what you just said. It can get done if you go and pick the right people. And where he's had to do it all his career, I don't think he'll struggle with this. And 60 million, even though we would want him to get more, everything else, I get it, so would I. Yeah, he'll come in and say, give me 60 million and I'll be happy, because he's never had that money. You look at some of the players he bought at Celtic, tuppence money. Yes, smaller league.
That's big money for the SPL. £2 million in the SPL is massive money.
But
massive
still,
money.
He could have bought in some of those players for 2 million over here from Celtic, and they could do the Premier League. They're not here, so we don't know. It's all ifs, buts, and maybes. But there are teams out there who have to do it like that because they haven't got the money that the big teams have got, and they still do it. I mean, another one. This might sound strange, but look at Chelsea. They got all the money in the world, yeah? But their academy, they still bring it up and they still go and sell them for 40, 50 million. Because they're so good at doing it through the academy lot. It's...
Of course, it's
Brighton can do it.
Dietrich, you want to come in, brother?
Sorry?
Did you want to come in there? I thought you had something to say.
No. Just like I heard background noise, I'm like, who's this? No, it's okay. It's okay.
I think it just went a bit funny.
Okay.
But this is why I think when you're not used to having that sort of money and you're used to having it the way the smaller teams do it, they have to dig deeper. They have to find those gems. And if it works at other clubs, why can't it work with us? Because when we've just had the two managers like Mourinho, Conte, whatever, and that, where you've got to bring in the 100 million players from because they want to do it now, not build it, it hasn't worked. Whenever we seem to go for a player over 50 million, it don't bloody work. It never does. So if we want to build something, what does it matter whether they cost 5 million, 10 million or 100 million, as long as they're the players he wants and they're the little gems that he gets to work. Going with what Stel said was perfect. If it's his choice, it's on his head. So...
But what if his choice is an £80 million player? What if his choice is an £80 million player?
Then you have to buy.
He's never had to do that. So this is why I think he's going to be one of the better managers at being able to pick out a gem, because he's always had to do it. Whereas when you get someone in like Conte, who probably couldn't pick out a gem if it was stuck up his arse, or Mourinho, or other managers and that, because they've always had the big money in their hands. He hasn't. So he's going to be better, I think, at picking out the smaller players that can become good. I'm not necessarily saying they
I
will.
want to hand it over to Dietrich to get his say, but Carter Vickers looks world class. He looks like Beckenbauer for Celtic. Joel Hart looks like Neuer at Celtic. It's a completely different league. I know we have. Look,
Yeah, but
I get it.
But hold on, Tommy.
Sometimes you have to spend money. The chances are, if you spend more money, you're going to get a better player. Now we've done things.
If you want to be a Man City,
Chelsea are the exception to spending lots of money and it going well, and Brighton are the exception of not spending much money and it going well. They're the two exceptions.
Not really. Arsenal spent £75 million on Pepe. How'd that work out for them? They spent £65 million on Kai Havertz. How's that worked out for them? They bought £65 million on Kai Havertz. How's that worked out, Tommy?
Well, there's still, what are they, second? I don't know, second, third?
They're fourth.
Second.
They're fourth.
They finished. They should have won the league. They should have won the league last season.
Yeah,
but they didn't because they bought the wrong players in January. They spent the money on Jorginho.
Yeah,
only Havertz. I think Havertz is the Timber's brilliant. Timber's brilliant.
If you
Rice
look at Man
brilliant.
City, Tommy, look at Man City. Look at Man City. Other than £100 million for Grealish, when have they spent crazy money, Man City, or are they just very good at paying?
Gvardiol, Jack Grealish.
Who?
Howden, yeah. No, Gvardiol, they spent for a young centre back that has 2 years experience. That was pretty expensive.
He's like 90
million, that's a lot.
Okay, Gvardiol, Grealish, that's two. But the rest of their players, Akanji, how much was he?
25.
About
how much
30
was
million.
Doku? How much was
Doku?
50.
How much was Alvarez? How much was Mahrez?
Mahrez was 60 mil.
How much was John Stones?
He was the most expensive centre back, so he was 50 million.
I think it was at the time. He was the most expensive British centre back. I think it's Man City have spent money, but they've spent it wisely. That's the biggest problem. The big fees we've spent on players.
But what I'm saying is, Tommy, they haven't spent crazy the way people make out they have.
No, they did spend crazy. They did.
No, that's because they buy a lot of players, right?
I'm agreeing with Steph.
Look at Arsenal. Jesus, 50 million. Odegaard, 30 million. Saliba, 30 million. Gabriel, the other centre-back, 26 million. The goalkeeper, £3 million on loan. Ramsdale, 25 million. Tomiyasu, 20 million. Where are Arsenal spending mega money? The only player they've ever spent big on is Declan Rice and Pepe. One looks like a brilliant signing. The other one was a disaster.
And
how it was just shrewd. 65 million. Okay, we've done that. Richarlison and Ndombele, we've done that.
Yeah, and it went to.
But that's not because we've spent money. We've spent money on ridiculous players to spend that money on.
Tommy, we've spent
60 million. Sanchez. Tommy, it's not if you spend £60 million, they're gonna fail. It's if you spend £60 million on the wrong player, they're gonna fail.
This is a bit of a fallacy. Since Pochettino was sacked in 2019, November 2019, we have spent almost 650 million pounds. We are spending the money. Spurs are spending the money. The problem has always been we're misspending it. So I'm not worried about are we going to spend money or not. We will spend the money. We will spend it. Are we going to spend it on what the manager needs? Right? No, that's all it comes down to. That's all it is. The money's being spent.
No, but the thing I don't like about the 700 million figure, when a manager says, "Get me this player," specifically him, but then you go and buy the complete opposite for the same price, that's when it becomes a problem. Look at Mourinho. He wanted the screen out for 55 million.
You're repeating what you said. You're repeating what you said.
No, I'm just
agreeing with me. You're agreeing with me.
Not. Yeah, but the 700 million is like, it sounds big, but it's still not a lot.
No, it is. But look, okay, how many players have we signed in the last 5 years from that 700 million that have just simply been the wrong signings?
At least 25.
So that is the problem. The problem is the recruitment of the big signings, not the big signings.
Yeah, but the big signings don't always go right, do they, for any club?
And they don't always go wrong. They don't go wrong as badly as they have for us.
Right.
60 million Ndombele, 60 million Richarlison, 50 million Sanchez.
75 million pounds Pepe, 65 million pounds Kai Havertz.
50 million Lo Celso. We had the opportunity to sign Grealish. I'm with Dietrich here. We had the opportunity to sign Grealish. We signed
but
the sales for 50 million and
Sorry,
Dombele for
what's-
60 million. That's not
Tommy,
because
what's the
we
argument
spent
here?
more money.
Tommy, what's
We
the
could have signed
argument here?
Grealish for less. It was bad recruitment.
No, just
Yeah,
What is the argument here? What are you not arguing?
my
What is the point
argument
you're
is
trying
like the 700 million figure that you're trying to say, like they spent the money. Still don't think that's enough money we spent. I don't think it's enough.
Look,
Right. Okay.
That is enough
Right,
money
Dietrich.
to build a team.
No, I don't
That
think
is
it's
enough
enough.
money to do. Yes, it is. I mean, look at
Right.
even Real Madrid. Hazard, how much did they spend on him?
100 mil.
Exactly, and that went tits up.
Yeah,
Just
but that's
because the player cost 100 mil and you're paying
Dietrich,
spending
Dietrich,
70 million on
Dietrich, I
players,
can
it
answer this
doesn't mean
question.
it's going to go right.
I can answer this question easily, right? The money
Go for
was
it.
enough. The money was enough. The problem isn't the money we spent. It's we were signing players for 6 different managers, man. That 700 million was for Conte, Mourinho, Nuno, Stellini, Jose, and now Ange. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, one manager, and they spend for that system. We hire and fire managers after we spend a large sum of money. We'll spend 200 million and sack the manager 18 months later. And then the new manager comes in, has to inherit the players that don't suit his system. Right now, we've got Poch players in the squad. We've got Pochettino players in our squad.
We went and bought a right wing back, and then he's gone 6 months later, and we don't use a fucking wing back now. I'm 100% with Stel on this.
Reguilon
110%.
signed for Jose. He's on loan from the club. Right, look.
The point,
if Ange stays for 4 years, right? If they just stick with their manager for 4 freaking years, 3 or 4 years, don't sack
4
him.
years,
Don't
4 years. We can't stick with a manager for free transfer windows.
Right,
4 years.
4 years is too much.
Then this is going to fail again, because spending 700 million, it is enough, but spend it on one manager and let him have the final say on the signings. If we do that, and only if we ever do that, because we've never done that, one manager, he has the say on the final signing. If we do that over 3-4 years, only then point the finger at the management and recruitment.
But you
That's
say
the only
4 But you say
I'm
4 years.
100% with you.
Do we have the time to wait 4 years? And do we have the players that can wait 4 years? Look at Son, look at Madison. They're not getting any young.
Yeah,
But look at the young players we've signed. We're building. We've signed young players.
Yeah,
Romero's young.
you got
Van de Ven's young. Doki's young. Poro's young. Vicario's young. Pape Sarr's young. Brendan Rodgers is Brendan Johnson is young. We're signing young players.
And then we lose 3 games on the bounce. He gets sacked, and we start again.
Yeah,
but that's not the manager's fault.
If the manager gets sacked, that's got nothing to do with us not spending enough money. That's down to the chairman not backing the project.
Of course. My argument.
So Dietrich's argument of with 700 million isn't enough.
My argument was that because you don't spend money in Japan and Australia and in SPL in Scotland doesn't mean spending that sort of money in Premier League is going to mean they're a good player. As I said, Carl Vickers looks unbelievable for Celtic. Joe Hart looks unbelievable for Celtic.
Carl Vickers didn't even get chances down here, really. He got about 10 games and didn't he?
He's not good enough.
He wasn't good enough.
They didn't want him.
You saw him at the conference league.
He was not good enough.
But guys, we're missing the point here. We're missing the point. For Ange, what he was doing in Scotland, it was good enough. Will Ange sign Carter Vickers for Spurs now? Hell no. He signed Van de Ven.
Exactly.
He signed Van de Ven.
The sort of money that he spent at Celtic for the Premier League, because it's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, but we will spend more, Tommy. We will spend more. We just did it in the summer.
There you go then. So this is what I'm saying. 1 or 2 million signings that you signed players for in Scotland, not going to work.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Really.
That's not going to happen.
But
there are exceptions, but usually the more money you spend, the better quality of.
Yeah, but hold on. We're Dan's right. Yeah, but hold on. Tommy, relative.
The chances are the quality will be better. You can fuck things up. But the chances will be better.
But this is where Dan's right, but you've got to be relative to the context of what we are, right? At Celtic, if you spend 50 million, that might be a lot of money for Celtic. Bloody hell, if we spent 50 million. In the Premier League, if you spend 200 million, fucking hell, that's a lot of money. But what if we could do it for 120 million instead? That's what we're going to do. And that's what Dan says. We're not going to spend big money, crazy big signings, but we're still going to spend good money, but we're going to spend it in a way where Ange can identify players within his new budget, his Premier League budget, which will be more than Celtic.
Okay, let me ask you this
Right,
question.
another point. Hang on a second. One
Yeah.
point I'll make with this, yeah? Right. City bought Grealish for 100 million, yeah? And we'll all say he's a good player, yeah? Very good. Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
So if we would have bought him for 25 million, he would have still been a very good player. What's the difference? Only about 75 million. It's when you get
It's
the
about
player.
it's about identifying the talent at the right time.
Exactly. Madison, end of this season, he's going to be £100 million player all day long. We got him for 30 mil. Well, 40, and we got 10 mil back on wings. So I say 30 mil. So whether you buy the player for 20 million or you buy the player for fucking 200 million, you're still going to get the same player there. So we've got he's going to be that sort of manager that can dig a little bit deeper, because that's what he's going to have to do with Spurs, because we are not going to go out and spend 200, 300 million on that. Yeah. So you can buy the same player. If you get him that bit earlier, you're going to get the same player, but he's cheaper.
There's the prediction.
How much is Van de Ven worth now? How much is Vicario worth now?
No, but like, I don't want... Okay.
Vicario, he'd go for a 50 million keeper all day long by the end of the season.
So we got him before
Jamie
that price,
Madison,
right?
100 million.
No, but at least they have the...
Van de Ven. How much would our rivals in the Premier League pay for Van de Ven right now? Man United.
I don't get the constant... I honestly do not get the constants of... Okay, we can get this guy cheaper. We've got that money. It doesn't matter. We've got the money. We've got the money to spend without discussing. Should we save 50 million? Should we save 80 million?
Yeah,
should
exactly.
we save 120 million? I suppose that's the Tottenham. That's how we are. And Stell said it perfectly. We have to have a manager that spends less. And Dan said the same thing. We have to have a manager that spends. Why do we have to have a manager that spends less? Why do we have to have that? Is it because
just the way Tottenham are. We're not going to spend what Man City do or Man United do.
It was like in the summer when people told me we have to sell Kane. On if we don't, we're going to lose him on a free next season.
Yeah, but
it's not my money. It's Levy's money. If we lose £100 million, Levy lose £100 million. You don't fucking lose it. It's not my money.
Yeah,
right.
But at the end of the day, it still hits the squad. It still hits the team. It's just the way Levy works. He's a prick.
What would you rather have? What would you rather have? What would you rather have? Man United's Harry Maguire that they spent £85 million on, or Mickey Van de Ven for 45?
But that's just a ridiculous. That's an exception again. We're talking about exceptions.
Okay, let me ask you.
Onana for 50 million or Vicario for 17?
Gorvagel or Van de Ven for 90 mil.
So Anthony for 100 million or Brennan Johnson for 40?
No, but you're taking the worst players.
These are comparisons. That there's always comparisons in signing higher value players than lower value players.
I'm comparing us, what we do, to them. And theirs doesn't work the way they do.
Over the last 6 months. That's not a longevity.
Benson Court, 15 million when he was a known first player at Juventus.
Or Mason Mount, or Mason Mount for 50 million. Or Mason Mount for 50.
Benson Court all day long, yeah?
If he would have got his injury... But Vicario hasn't succeeded because he was only worth £17 million.
But this for Vicario, but that for Bentancur, but this for Udogie.
But they haven't succeeded because they're that cheap. They've succeeded because they're good footballers. So it doesn't matter how much they cost.
So what does it matter whether they're 20 million or 100 million?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's what we're saying.
Comparing fees.
But you're the one saying spend more.
Yeah. I'm saying sign the right player, but don't go so against spending more because we've spent it poorly in the past.
No. You and Dietrich both said we need to spend more on the players to get.
Dietrich said we don't spend enough.
A lot of the time,
I said if you spend more, you will get a higher chance that they will be better.
Because for me,
necessarily.
Only if you scout the right player.
If I spend more on a car, if I spend more on food, if I spend more on clothes, what's the chances they're going to be better?
Yeah, when it comes to clothes,
right? Okay, so Tommy, what you're saying, basically, Tommy, what you're saying is this, right? This is what I've understood, right? You've got two different arguments. Dietrich is just we don't spend enough money. Your argument's different. Your argument is why try and unearth a gem at a lower price when you can spend more and just buy the finished product ready to go? Am I right?
Not really. No, I think there should be a balance. I think there should be a balance of the two.
Right, so you want a bit of both. I know if the gems, but once in a while, just buy the finished product. Right, here's the problem.
Yeah,
Here's the
I
problem.
get it.
I don't disagree with you, Tommy. I don't disagree.
No, I get that.
The finished product is going to be the real deal. So a Jack Grealish, a Kvaratskhelia,
Not necessarily.
an Osimhen, and that caliber of player, like they're known. That's why their price is high, because they're known. They're known to be good. No one heard of Vicario or Udogie before we bought them. So if the price is going to be high, it's because they're known, right? Are those players that are known and their agents going to come to Spurs over the competition?
Well, the situation with that is that we've put ourselves in that position because we've signed the wrong players in the past, and we've signed the wrong players in the past. That's eliminated.
What's that got to do? What's that got to do with a good player saying yes or no to Spurs? If I'm Victor Osimhen and I'm on the market for 80 million, right? I'm the finished product. I'm the real deal. Why would I come to Spurs when I could wait out for Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, Juventus? Why would they come to us?
Because our past recruitment at all levels has been so bad, you don't want to come to us because we're finishing 6th, 7th, 4th, and 8th over the last 4 seasons. That's why.
So yeah, but Pochettino, when we were challenging for titles, couldn't attract those players.
Well, I don't think we went for those players when we had Pochettino. We didn't sign it. We didn't go for a player for 500
Tommy,
days.
Do you think those players will come to us? Do you think they will sign for Tottenham Hotspur?
Not now, because it's well, Maddison did. Maddison's a very well-known player in the Premier League. He's come in, right, done a fantastic job.
So if your answer is standards, because he plays at Leicester, he was not taken as serious. I mean, look, as soon as he goes Spurs, he's straight in the England lineup. Yeah, when he's at Leicester, he should have been in that England lineup.
But the thing is, Tommy, if your answer is no, they won't come right now, then we can't do what you're saying. We've got to do it this way. Then you've just answered the question, no?
Yeah, I'll agree.
We've got to do it that way. Overall, there needs to be a balance. Well, Maddison's a very good player, and he was 40-50.
Yeah, but you've just said those players won't come to us. So until we get to a place one day, maybe
the Oshermans won't. The Oshermans won't. But there's a level in between. There's a level in between.
Who is an expensive player? Who is an expensive player?
Van der Ven wasn't £10 million. Van der Ven wasn't £10 million. It was £45 million.
Yeah, but that's not mega money. That's
a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but we spend that money. We spent 42 million on Sanchez about 8 years ago. We spend that money. We don't have an issue spending that money. Yeah. You're talking about the 60, 70, 80 million pound players that are ready to go now. Which of those players are coming to Spurs? Because according to you, they're not going to come to Spurs. So we've got to do it the way Dan says. Then there's no choice.
We've got to dig deeper.
We can't attract them, Tommy. I would love Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen,
and Van der Ven cost 45 million, so we're attracting
players. Let me give you an example here, then. Yeah,
but that's not mega money. That's not mega money.
Cost 50 million. Brendan Johnson cost 50 million.
Yeah, but this isn't mega money.
What we've got to do, so what we've got to do now is exactly what Ferguson used to do, even when he had all the money. Yeah, he'd go and buy the real deal, but he also done other things. Now, if you would have gone back to Cristiano Ronaldo, yeah, if we would have gone in for him before Man U, we would have got him. Why? Because no one had really heard of him. He was just coming up on the lines and that. He played one game at Man U and Fergie went, I want him. And they got him for 13 million, if I remember right.
Who's this? What plays this?
Ronaldo.
They paid decent money at the time for him.
That was big. That was big money then. That was big money then.
Yeah. It might have been the equivalent of 30 million now, 40 million now, but it wasn't going and buying someone for 100 million. Why? Because he got spotted that this man's going to be good. And they took him from the start where he was cheaper. He became great. And then they sold him for like 100 million or whatever it was they sold him for.
I think there was a balance.
We now have to dig. We now have to dig for the gems as such, for the 20, 30 million players. Because like Stell's saying, why would the 80 million players want to come to us? There's no reason. Why would you want to go to Spurs? So we've got to dig deeper.
I agree that they would.
Now that we've got a manager, who has said it is on him, and he's more used to digging for the gems as long as we back him with it, we've got more of a chance than just going out and whacking fucking 65
But
million on Richarlison.
as you said, it doesn't matter if he's got more experience with the gems. He's only got limited money to buy the gems anyway. No matter what Ange said, he would only have
the
that
gems
money.
are going to be cheaper.
As Stel said, certain players won't come. So it doesn't matter what Ange says. That is the level of the player you're going to get.
No, but Ange can work. But Ange can work with not buying those players. That's the point. He can work in that region.
Well, so far he can. 11 games in, but it's still very, very early days. It's still very, very early days.
For me, I honestly think
this is my point here. What the fella has just said here. We have to do a Brighton scouting. Yes, we do, because we've got ourselves in that position now.
Yeah,
and Ange, for me, is your perfect manager to do it like that, because he will look for people like that, because he knows how to do it. Whereas Mourinho and that...
In Japan, Australia and Scotland.
Wherever he's done it, yeah, he will still know how to do it, I personally think.
Yeah, but that model would not win you a title. That's my point. It wouldn't. It doesn't work, and it proved. We have to buy the big-name players. That's the only way to move forward.
We can't attract them. We can't attract those players. Who?
Okay, if you go and drop 100 million on that Kvaratskhelia at Napoli, I'm telling you this right now, he would come to Spurs. His dream is to play in the Premier League.
Dietrich.
But look at the wages as well. That is our other problem.
This is crazy. Only 2 clubs have ever spent £100 million or more on a player in the Premier League: Arsenal and Man City. We are not going to go and do that, dude.
Chelsea did it. Chelsea did it.
Chelsea have done it over 8 years, the payment, and UEFA have stepped in and changed the rules on that now, right? Spurs, I don't want Spurs to spend £100 million on one player. I never want us to do that. I don't want that. I'll be honest with you.
But you need to spend.
I don't care. I don't care.
The money doesn't care. It's about
how much we spend.
If you get one guy,
I think the risk is too high, man. I think the risk is too high, and the pressure on the weight on the player's shoulders, everything. Listen, Dietrich, I don't believe there are players who are the finished real deal product. Like you say, go and drop £100 million. Kvaratskhelia will come to Spurs. Will he?
Yes, he will.
If you get who's that specific player?
Look at our wage structure as well. It cannot bring in the big players.
I don't think Kvaratskhelia. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, Kvaratskhelia comes to Spurs. Now he's a somebody. Juventus will want him. AC Milan will want him. PSG might want him. I do not.
Okay. Let me give you a good one.
I think if we're in the top 4, you can see how Ange is playing.
Skriniar was
He's just won a league title with Napoli, and he's in the Champions League, and he's going to come to Spurs.
Okay.
Not in a million years.
When we were
no, I think he would. I think this is
under Mourinho. We weren't in the
wages as well.
Under Mourinho, we weren't in the Champions League, and Skriniar was begging to join us.
But he's not £100 million player. He's not £100 million player.
We finished 7th, and we signed Romero, the best defender in the Serie A.
Exactly.
£50 million.
Everyone wants to play for Spurs. I don't get that narrative that we're small club.
You've just moved the goalpost. You've moved the goalpost.
Serie A defender of the year. Dropped £50 million after finishing 7th. Came Spurs.
1 minute. You guys have moved the goalpost from 80 million to £100 million players. You're now talking about Skriniar, who was about 50 odd million. The reason we didn't buy him is because Levy didn't want to pay that price. That was the problem.
You said big names want to join Spurs. You didn't say the price. You said big names, and Skriniar was a big name in the city.
You said about money. You're not talking about spending big money.
Yeah, because if you spend the money, you're going to get the player. That's my point. I'm not saying like we're going to
50 million isn't big money to me. We spend that. We spend that money now on players. We spend 50 million on players.
Yeah, no, but in the past we didn't. But still, players want to join us, even the big names.
Now we are doing it. But now we are doing it, Dietrich. That's the
on the wrong players. On the wrong players.
Yeah, but hold on. There's 3 different arguments. You're changing the argument. I'm spending big money. Your argument, Dietrich, was that we don't spend enough. Now you're saying we spend it on the wrong players. You weren't arguing that 20 minutes ago. You've changed.
No, it's both. It's both. My agreement is both.
You're adding that bit on now. Now your whole everything I've been talking about has changed because you just added that bit on.
No. Sorry, because I'm a bit tired. I'm sorry, but I swear it's.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, and I don't think Tommy, Dan, anyone watching this, no one disagrees. I don't think there's a Spurs fan who disagrees.
I think you know what?
Spent the money on the wrong players at times. We all agree that.
I think we all agree. I think not 90% of what we say we agree, but our brain is so frazzled by how Levy does things and our league finishes over the last 4 years, I don't even think we know whether we're coming or going. Honestly, that's how I see it. We don't know whether we're coming or going. So there'll be certain points I say, I've just contradicted myself there. And then I'm sitting there saying, well, you've just contradicted yourself there. And I think he's frazzled us. And I see it time and time again. Yeah. But
Tommy, it's simple. Stick with one manager for long enough and let him have the final say. And then,
but we haven't done it because 3 losses, the fan base turns. It turns.
Oh, what do you want me to do, man? I've protested my soul.
There you go.
Out.
But that's, unfortunately, that's the reality. That's the reality.
But the point of the whole thing is, Tom, that if we do stick with a manager and let him pick, we don't have to go out and buy 50, 60, 100 million pound players there and then.
That's fantastic.
Now, if we've got, hang on a sec. Hang on. Hear me out. Yeah. If we want to succeed now, we need to spend 70, 80 million on players. Yeah. Majority. But if we want to do what I would say a majority of Spurs fans that I've heard of is whatever you want to call it, a process, build it. We have to start from the bottom again. We don't have to go out and spend 70, 80 million pound on players because we're not looking at doing things now. We're looking at doing things over the next 4 years. And we need one manager to do that. And that's what we got to do. Whether we do or don't is a different story. But we got to start from somewhere. Stel, Dietrich, Tom?
That's the if, though, isn't it? If we stick with Ange. And this is a big, big if. We can all agree. We want Ange to say we want longevity to certain managers.
Everything's
if my nan had will, she'd be a bike. If. It's always ifs. Right, we need to move on. Because we're coming to the end of the show now. We always do Muppet of the Week. Big up Total War Spurs. Jason, he's in the chat. Big up to the people that are still here. Daryl Denton, Al Pesh. But firstly, we talked about Romero, and I do want to talk about a couple of transfers quickly. He's been linked to Barcelona, and he supported Barcelona growing up, Romero. We know he was at fault yesterday night. Contract till 2027. We're talking about fees right now. Dan, how much do you think it would take for Levy to sell Romero right now? Because he's linked to Barca.
80.
80 mil?
75, 80. 75, 80 mil, baked potato. See you later. And I don't think it would be our worst move. I think he's an excellent player. He's very, very good. But with the way his head is, like he proved yesterday, and I don't think it's going to change, because I think on Talk Sport, I think it was Simon Jordan who said it today, said it perfect. Romero is a player of 2000, where he can get away with tackles like he did without getting sent off. These days, you just can't do it. If we then sold Romero for 80 million and then brought in another 2 Van der Vens for 40 million apiece, I'm happy. So we'd be better selling him and bringing in 2 for 40 million, which we have just proved we can do, and they don't have to cost 80 million to be good.
Okay, and Dietrich, Romero, how much do you think it would cost other clubs to come in for him and for Levy to accept the bid?
For me, it would be 80 million, but if you look at the market, you would say 90 million.
Would you sell him as well, though? Would you, Dan said you'd be happy to sell him and sign 2 replacements. Would you be happy?
I'll be honest with you. I love Romero. I think he's a great center back. But I think, he always does 10 good things, and then he does one stupid thing that eliminates everything he did well. Like yesterday. He had 10 great games, done something stupid, and then, we're going to fall him. For me, if we sell him and we can get, a top Solba and then Mickey Van der Ven back up, that's good enough to challenge him. I think it's not the worst decision you can make. And his head, I don't think it's made for the Premier League, especially with those refs.
Yeah.
For his
and
league,
it also expands the squad.
Yeah,
Stel, you go to game in, game out. Is it a little bit harsh on Romero? Because, I think maybe a lot of this is coming from yesterday's performance. He's been faultless. Ever since. And how
it's his 5th red card in 75 games. That's the worst that any player has ever had.
Yeah.
How much would it take? How much would it take, Stel? Would you be game? Would you be happy to see Romero go?
Right,
Not
so I
happy.
reckon anything between 80 to 100 mil for him, anything like that. Probably closer to 80, if I'm honest, something like that. But I'd keep him. And at the end of the season, assess it, right? Let's see what happens as a season as a whole. And then when you get to the summer, if this keeps happening, he has to go. Because what's the point, right? It's costing us games and it's costing us the knock-on effect as well. If he can get it together and Ange can sort it out, then it's just something we're going to have to just struggle with for now.
20 years old. He's not 20 years old.
That's why I said wait to the end of the season. I'd wait to the end of the season.
That's the point that Stell's making.
Yeah.
That's basically how I look on it. I wasn't looking at
because until yesterday he's been brilliant for us. Until yesterday he's been brilliant.
But he has still proved that he has still got that hot head that could cost us a cup final. I don't want that. I rate him so much, but the reason he got so much stick for yesterday is because we've praised him so hard, and then he's just gone and done exactly what he did last season again. And of course he's going to get it double for it because we all backed him up so good. And like Daryl's just said here, 110% I agree with you, mate. He's 25. He's not changing.
I agree.
He's got his head. Maybe when he gets to 30, he might slow down. I mean, perfect example. I think I could vouch for all of us here. Well, I vouch for myself. 42. When I was like 16, 20, 25, I was too fiery for my own good and ended up doing a lot of stupid things. As I got to 30, I slowed down. I'm 42. I'm quite chilled and down to earth half the time now. But football, you haven't got that amount of time. He ain't changing until he's in his 30s. So in the summer, if he has not toned it down, if this is just a one-off thing, then fine. But if he makes a couple more mistakes like this that could cost us a cup final or could cost us that final game to get us in the Champions League, as far as I'm concerned, we get 80 million offer. As far as, see you later, mate. Baked potato. Off you go. And I'll go looking for another 2 Van der Vens.
And I think one of the keys is that he's a Barcelona fan. I read this in The Guardian. So it's Barcelona and another team. Not specified. I'm guessing it's Real Madrid. It could be Atletico Madrid. But he is a Barcelona fan growing up. So I think he'd push for it as well. Even if they bid 60, 70 million pounds. I think they'd certainly push for it. And yeah, I agree, Dan. And with Daryl, Romero's 25. Yeah, you can't teach an old dog new tricks sometimes. And he showed that yesterday. I also think this is a great point because I brought this up before the season started. I think Barca will play him in a 6. I think he could be a magnificent 6. He's a ball winner. He won't have to cover anyone. He can have the freedom in centre midfield. He's actually a good passer on the ball when he wants to be. He's not the greatest header of a ball for a centre back. I think he could play as a number 6. I think he could be phenomenal as a number 6.
Do you know what? That's the same as me saying with Porro playing up the right. And another thing we can say, Eric Dyer was better as a 6 than he was as a defender. He even done it all right for England. It was when he came back as a defender, he just fell to shit. I'm not saying he was great at all, but he was I think he was definitely better as a DM than a centre back. You basically just said what I've said about Porro.
Yeah,
could it maybe
different positions, but
it's not going to happen. So yeah, I agree. If we get a decent offer for him of 80 million plus in the summer, if he has not changed at least 75%, I'd let him go because he is a liability. And I really like the player. He's an excellent defender, but when you've got a hot head like that, that can cost you games, like it did last night.
And AC Milan, we talk about getting knocked out of the Champions League. AC Milan made a silly sending off challenge. We were still well in the game. We're only 1-0 down. Didn't need to be done, and we went out of Champions League. So.
Do you remember Conte's first game? He got a red card.
Was that Pacos Ferreira or something?
No, it was in the Conference League. The first game Conte ever managed, Romero got a red card.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I remember it being in Europe. But
yeah, it's not the first time. It's not the first time. And it's not going to stop.
So I'd say selling for 80 million, and this is where we look for not another 80 million defender. We go and look for 2 40 million defenders that are out there. Like Mickey Van der Ven. Hang on, Tom. Hang on.
That works, Dan.
Hang on.
That works.
Well, we've already proved it can work on that because we're not talking about spending 5 million on gems. We're talking about spending 40 million on players that are already on their way there.
But it's still
And
not
we've got
proven.
two players.
No player is proven.
Hang on, the squad is still bigger, and that has just made everything me and Stel have argued with you two right. Game over.
The thing is, this I'm getting a lot of FIFA vibes here. We sell someone for 80, we sign 2 for 40. Fantastic. I think it's almost it's like a video game sometimes. I see it as a video game perspective. It worked with Van der Ven. In an ideal world, of course, it'd be fantastic, and I would want that to happen.
We could go and get Tapsoba next season for 50 million. He's still in the German league. Leverkusen, even if they win it, they need that fucking money. Same as Italy need it. Same as France need it. Same as look. The Premier League has got more money than every other league in the world, bar the Arab League, put together. They desperately need money. Literally Italy is falling to pieces because they ain't got the money. That is why they've had to sell some players cheap, because they need the money. We could go out there and say we sold him for 80. Right, Tapsoba. There you go. 50, 55 million, let's say, example, because Leverkusen will need that money. Right. There's Romero's place taken. Will Tapsoba work or not? But he's at least halfway there. He's not just a gem we're looking at. And then we go and look for the smaller player for 30 million, who's definitely on his way up. Half the problem solved. We've got to work it one way or another. And I think that just makes everything me and Stel have said right.
If Romero is sold, I'm not sure that will happen for a good while yet. I don't think we probably have to deal with that.
It's all ifs, buts and maybes. But we don't, if we sell him for 80 mil, we don't have to go and get another 80 million defender, is what we've been saying the whole time.
It'd be pointless, really.
Yeah, but I thought you had to buy, but I thought we had to buy the 80 million players to get a good player.
No, it's just more chance. If you sign a better player, if you sign an 80 million pound player or a 20 million pound player, there's more chance the 80 million pound player will be good. There's just more chance. Like a car, like anything in life. I
don't agree with that with players. I think when they cost that much more money, I think Enzo's your prime example, and what's his name, the other one they bought. As soon as they cost 100 million, there's so much more pressure on them because they cost 100 million. A player comes in for 40 million, it could be exactly the same player, but where he ain't got the 100 million on him or the 80 million, he hasn't got the same pressure on his head.
That's a poor player then. If a player's can't deal with that pressure, then that's on the player's attitude. Because you need
not just his attitude, that might just be on his mentality, and he might not be able to handle pressure as well as another player who's half as good as him but has got the head for it.
Right. Moving on to signings now. This is sort of underwhelming. Centre mid, Brentford's Danish captain, 29-year-old Christian Norgard in centre mid, heavily linked with Spurs. Right, okay. So, Stel, he is 29. He plays with Højbjerg for Denmark. He's older than Højbjerg. He's played 50 games less. He's on 21 caps. Højbjerg's on 71. I suppose the centre midfield issue is because we're going to be losing to African Cup of Nations. Thoughts on Norgard? Thoughts on centre midfielders in general?
All right, regarding Norgard, I've got no idea. Like none. I need to look into it. I've got none. Regarding central midfielders in general, I'm not too worried about central midfield too much. I'm more worried about the left-sided attack, another striker, centre backs, maybe even wing backs. I think that's our priority. I think midfield we're okay. I think we're okay. I wouldn't really worry about it. Another thing as well, Tommy, with like players, I just don't believe anything that I read anymore. You know, I've been like this for 2-3 years. I've been laughing at all these ITKs and journalists. We thought we were going to sign Raya, and out of nowhere we pulled Vicario out of our asses. We had no idea about Dogi. Just signed him and then put him back out on loan. Out of nowhere, we pulled a Solomon free signing. Van der Ven, there was talk about it. There's a lot of talk about it, but there's a lot of talk about Tapsoba as well. That never happened. Madison, where the hell did that come from? Just boom, done. So I think whatever the media puts out there, ignore it. Just wait and see what we do, because if they talk about 5 players we're linked with, we'll sign 3 that no one spoke about, and there'll be one of the 5 that actually, they got that one right. That's how I feel about it nowadays, Tommy. I genuinely
But we
don't know
run out
what
of content, brother. We got to talk about something. So
I
when it
know.
comes to transfers,
You're like
run out of
Iggy.
content.
Iggy does it every morning. He does a 10-minute show of players we're linked with. He loves it.
I love
Yeah,
it.
okay,
When I
so-
was a young kid, I was happy reading the back of newspapers who, we linked with this guy, we linked with that guy. As you say, very rarely we get the one
Is it
that
ever
we look
right?
at. Yeah,
Look at Brendan
that's
Johnson.
true.
Brendan Johnson, where'd that come from? Where did
Yeah,
that come
no,
Brendan Johnson.
Dietrich's Norgard, does he tickle your fancy? And do you think, I don't know, do you think centre mid is a priority in January?
I think Nogard is a decent player. Like, he would be a good backup, but I don't think he's worth the money because Brentford they don't want to sell their players. But yes, we do need center mids in January because I don't like Skip. I think he's the worst midfielder we have at Spurs. One of the
he's
worst.
fucking awful. He's terrible.
He's worse than Harry Winks. Bentancur, we still don't know if he's going to reach his potential. 75% of his potential. And the only backup we have right now is, what's his name? Højbjerg. And he might leave. And he might leave in January. So actually, we do need at least 2 center mids. And Lo Celso is not getting 1 minute of game time. So we are short in midfield.
That's Madison's backup right there. Lo Celso. Right. Alpesh Patel puts keep Højbjerg, get back Alfie Devine. He started fantastically at Port Vale, and I think there's a recall clause in his contract. So that could be a very good shout. And he can play as a cam and a striker. So we could use him to come in and out for Madison if Madison continues to get injured. Devine, if he does have that recall clause, it's a good shout to maybe bring him back in.
And look, the other thing is with Højbjerg, if we're going to sell him, we need to bring in someone better. Because everyone keeps saying how bad he is and whatever. To me, he just proved himself yesterday that he is more than capable of being a squad player. Does he want to play as a squad player? I don't think he does. But we could still keep him until the end of the season and then sell him. I think we definitely, if we're going to keep Højbjerg, which I don't think is a bad idea until the end of the season, getting another, we will need another centre mid. But if Bentancur starts coming back and he had an all right game yesterday, I think our main 2 places we need a centre back desperately, at least 1. I would say 2 and a centre mid.
Have you got any names, Dan? Because we're linked with a few. We're linked with Caceres from Mexico. Only played for Club America. He's been heavily linked.
One I've been screaming for years, and we would get him for about 25 million. Because they're a small team, even though they're known. Fiorentina. They're known, but they're a small team, and they have a very, very, very limited money. What's his name? The defender.
Milinkovic.
25 million, we would get him easy. And he would fight and be good enough to fight to get into the first 2. I personally think. I have rated him for about 3 or 4 years at Fiorentina. He would be an excellent buy for us to go for, and he wouldn't cost an arm and a leg. And there you go. You don't have to spend 80 million. 25 million, I reckon we'd get him for easy.
Even the center back at Juve, what's his name, Bremer, he's falling out with Allegri. You can just go spend 40 mil, and you have a world-class potential center back.
And there you go. We've spent 65 million on what we've said there. If it goes like that, and we've just covered our 2 centre backs. And we didn't have to spend 60 million on 1 player.
It's not
just basically made.
It's not Milinkovic Savic WTP. It's just Milinkovic. They're centre back, different players.
Yeah, not Milinkovic Savic, the defender at Fiorentina.
It's very confusing, but it's confusing. But
there you go, and it's just sort of half proved again what me and Stel have been going on. We would, if it worked like that, just gone and got 2 centre backs for 65 million, and we wouldn't have just had to spend 80 million to get a good one, to get finished business in there. Because Milinkovic is already, as far as I'm concerned, he's already on his way to being up there because he's done it for a while now and he's proved himself. Yes, he had a bit of a shocker in Europe, 1 game, but he would be more than good enough to fight the back. And where he's at a small team with lack of money, they will have to accept a limited amount for him unless Man U, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Real Madrid go for him. and I don't think they would.
And even
So again-
West Ham, they had a 50 million bid accepted, and after that, they just changed their mind on the player.
Yeah, there you go.
The only centre backs I'm seeing us linked with is Caceres. Only ever played in Mexico for Club America, and Victor Nelson's come out again. I looked at him a lot over the summer.
He's not good. He's not good.
Victor Nelson. I'm half Turkish, so I watch a lot of Galatasaray over the years. Not so much these days. We're hearing good things about him. He started a lot of games. My family love him, but it's the Turkish league. It is the Turkish league. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about Vertonghen. They see him as a leader. Victor Nelson is in the same mode as Vertonghen. A lot of Spurs fans are talking about. Very difficult to make that comparison. From
The best centre back we can buy would be Anderson at Crystal Palace for backup.
Guahi for the homegrown status. We will need homegrown players. I like
he would cost, but the problem is with that, where he's English and where he's at, he's going to cost 70 million all day.
I don't care. It's not my money.
No, but if we haven't got it to spend, then we have to look elsewhere. We're back to fucking square one on what we was arguing about.
We just spent.
Yeah, we got
some
for
£100 million. We just sold Kane
last year before. We had the third biggest income in sport, for fuck's sake. But we ain't gonna do it. It's Tottenham. It's just not the way they do it. We sold
Kane for £100 million. We should do it. We should do it.
Yeah, we should do a lot of things, but we don't, mate. That's just it. Like it or lump it. Deal with it, because we all have to.
Right.
I'm gonna leave soon. Are you guys almost
right
gonna?
At the end, we've got Muppet of the week next, so you can leave if you want, brother. But have any other centre backs linked that you've seen linked, Dietrich? Because I'm struggling. We need centre backs. I'm not seeing too many linked.
I don't say the one at Bournemouth.
Would you take Laporte on loan?
Laporte?
Yes.
We're not gonna pay his wages, so no. He's going to pay almost $1 million a week. I don't think we're going to get him, though. I would take him, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. I'd take him on loan quite happily.
I was gunning for him in the summer. Laporte, what a player. What a player. Brings us that balance, brings us that winning mentality. Exactly what we need for a long time.
Do you know the centre backs where you can buy so many good? The ones at Leipzig, the Simakan. All their centre backs are top class, and they're cheap and they're young. RB Leipzig. That is the place to go buy centre backs.
Players in general.
Yeah,
that Simakan is lifting up trees, isn't he? And someone's put the Tosin, Fulham centre back. We need homegrown players. So Tosin's a good shout. I don't think Guahi's a great player.
I don't want Tosin. No.
But what other homegrown players are there? Centre backs, because we need homegrown status, especially if we're back in Europe next season.
Would you take Kilman?
Lewis Dunk from Chelsea.
Brighton.
From Brighton. Yeah.
Would you take Kilman?
He's good. He's very good. Kilman. Wolves left centre back. We'll see him on the weekend. He's a good player. They're quite a selling club as well, Wolves, which is weird. They do sell their players.
Again, at the end of the day, if we get players that Ange wants, I'm happy. I don't care if they cost 50 million, 100 million. I don't care whether they're from Serie A, Bundesliga. I don't care whether they're from the Mickey Mouse League. If it's the players that he wants and he gets them, I'll back it, even if I don't agree with the player.
Exactly. That's my point. I don't care if we spend 150. I'm the same. I don't care what we spend. But the Caceres one is the one that's we're constantly linked with this guy. West Ham, Newcastle, Arsenal, all looking at him. I think he's 5'11" in South America. Only ever played in Mexico. That's the guy we're looking at. What can you say? Might be a gem. Might be a hidden gem. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We're linked with him for £20 million. Some of the gems work out. Some of them don't. Van der Ven worked. Vicario worked. Gil didn't. NG didn't. A lot of them didn't. But a couple of them have this season. Hopefully we can carry on.
I just don't understand how come City can find Akanji for 20 mil, or we can't even find the same price tag centre back.
I think his contract was running out the season. I think he had a year left on his contract, so that's how we got him relatively cheap. That's how they got him relatively cheap, I should say.
Yeah, we're scouting a guy Club America that I never heard about him, but Kim Min-jae for $5 million. We didn't want to spend that, and look how it turned out.
Right, finally, my favourite part of the show, and it will end the show tonight. If I can get it up. It is, of course,
Muppet
of the week. It's not allowing me to get it up. Right, here we go. Aha. Here we have it. So, the nominees this week, Romero. Many say his sending off cost us the game. I sort of agree with that. Yeah, a couple of lack of discipline moments, could have been sent off with the kick, to be fair, the Beckham kick. Yeah. Daniel Levy, the depth he's given us, well, we're about to find out what it's made of. So maybe not Muppet of this week, maybe it'll be Muppet of next week or the following weeks. But he's an exclusive member here because he's a bellend, basically. Cucurella, it's his hair. I can't stand him in that hair. I'm going to start a protest. I don't think that should be allowed. Honestly,
No, I thought Ben White's hair
supposed to win a ball. They can't see the fucking ball with his hair.
I thought Ben White's hair was worse. I thought Ben White was worse.
Oh yeah, Ben White in general is worse, isn't he?
I mean,
he even had.
Sorry, go on.
No,
I think we can all agree Ben White was worse. I think I'll put him on Muppet of the week because of his Orange Town last week. But
he's already changed his hair back, isn't he?
Has he? I'm not surprised. But I think that's an unfair advantage for strikers, Cucurella's hair. I'm being honest. And he's just a bellend. I can't stand him.
Either way.
Right, right, Dietrich, you got to go. So we're all going to be going shortly. Muppet of the week, any of these, or have you got one of your own for this week?
I got one of my own.
Can I go
No,
first?
go.
Mine's Dietrich's.
No, because he's bald. So go first. No, my Muppet would be Arteta. Because one day, when it was Liverpool, he backed the refs. And when it was his turn, he started crying like a little kid. So it's going to be Arteta, my Muppet.
Who's that? I missed it.
Arteta.
A lot of people in the chat are saying Arteta, so you've got lots of people to agree with you. Stel said Dietrich's. Are you going to change that, or are you going to stick with that?
I'll be nice to Dietrich's. I'll change it to all of Dietrich's friends. Anyone who likes him, anyone who's friends with him. No, I'm joking. Liverpool fans, the entire Liverpool fan base, the hate you've put on Tottenham this season, and anything we do, you shit on. You all said to us, lucky Tottenham against Luton. You're so jammy, 10 men, and you're lucky you're with your goal, and Luton should have scored loads of goals. You lucky 1-0 win. What happened when you had 11 men against Luton, Liverpool? Tell me what happened. Muppets.
Liverpool fans, Muppets of the week. Dan, who's yours?
Well, Liverpool fans have been my Muppets of the week for about 3 weeks now.
So you have to give it to someone else.
Yeah, basically. And I can definitely see where Dietrich is coming from. Arteta, the fella's just a dickhead anyway. I'm going to have to go with Romero because as far as I'm concerned, he cost us that game. Yeah, and that's that.
I think I'm going to have to agree with Dan because I think he's been sensational this season. But if we're talking about solely Muppet of the week, I think it's got to go to Romero. I do think that was, we could have stayed unbeaten. We probably would have beat Chelsea as well. We're flying at the top again. So that has cost us greatly. Hopefully he comes back from this and we don't see the Romero of old where he continues to make these silly challenges. Hopefully it's a one-off. One thing is for sure, he won't be playing against Wolves, even with Van der Ven. So we'll see what centre-backs come in. That should be fun. It should be fun at least.
And I have another Muppet still thinking that Skip is a good player.
Skip is
I'm
not
a Skip fan, but we'll leave it there.
He's awful.
That's it for tonight's show. Much love for joining us here on the Hotspur Hood. We know it's a late one. When you got Stel, when you got Daigle, when you got Dan, when you got Dietrich, we've got some opinions. It's safe to say we've got some opinions. So a little bit later than planned. Plug yourselves, lads. Dietrich's. Was it Buying Away TV? Is that a channel?
I'm trying to decide if I should create a channel or not, but I'm thinking about it. That's the idea. I just Stelios inspired me to be deluded and crazy, so I'm gonna do it.
Stel, plug away, brother.
You can definitely find us without Dietrich's on because we're going to block him now. He's going to get blocked. When are we on? Tomorrow we're on. We've got a show. Mari's doing the Spurs Lounge in the evening. I'm on Savage Channel on Thursday. Unleashed. That's the name of the show. Thursday night we're doing North London is ours, Spurs v Arsenal. And then we're going to do our normal Monday podcast on Friday. And then we've got to watch along on, when is that? Saturday. So, yeah, we've got back-to-back videos from tomorrow all the way till Sunday. If you want to come watch us, come over to Tottenham Away. And there you go. No Dietrichs for 4 days. It's going to be good.
Tommy's channel is better than Tottenham Away, so keep watching, guys, and subscribe to the Hotspur Hood.
Hey, just because you let someone
most of the people in the chat are from Tottenham Away, so I don't think
exactly.
agree, but we'll
just
see.
because Tommy lets on frauds Dietrichs doesn't mean you've got to big it up.
Love hate. Down here, it's love hate. It's love hate. We know you love it, really. And finally, yeah, Pat, pull through, Mr. Pat Jennings. Made a steal, this guy. Made a steal. So yeah, pull through, Pat Jennings. If you're watching this, which I'm sure you are, come on, Pat. Warrior. And as always, stay classy, Lee Whites. Please, smash the like.
One thing quick, Tom. I've got myself on Twitter now. If I can get a few people adding me on there, just Danny on Twitter, and just slowly getting my Twitter working as well now. Sorry, just had to get that.
Go to Tottenham Away and like us, and I can hit the like back.
Yeah.
Or message me so I can find you. Either way.
Follow.
Same thing.
Twitter's follow, innit? X is follow. So
follow, like, subscribe, retweet, repress, respin, reload. I don't even know anymore.
Next show on the channel.
Bumble.
Next show on the channel, on this channel, certainly Thursday lunchtime, I'm going to be doing something. Saturday lunchtime, Jason Total Hotspur has been in the chat with the Aussies. He's an Aussie himself. A North London Aussie. He's actually born in North London. So that's midday Saturday. Make sure you join him for that. And Danny sporadically does live shows here and there. So yeah, subscribe and follow us. It'll be magnificent. It's free. If you just subscribe, it'd be great. So yeah, stay classy, Lewites. Peace out.